and I have a different job. So the money is...
Listen to that. I don't have time to put the videos together. That's why I need this money. I have a different job.
How are you going to have time to answer 100 people a day on all their meat questions?
Exactly. You're making this even harder.
So the money is going to be reinvested into making more content.
This is like I was in a mental hospital once. I was in a mental hospital once, and I had a friend of mine bust me out. So he showed up to the mental hospital with a gun, and he goes, "Everybody get out!" Busted me out, took me out. We get into the car, and we're fleeing away from the mental hospital, and we're on the run for like 3 days, right? And I haven't eaten. I'm starving, and I've got nothing. I'm still wearing my hospital gown, for God's sakes. And I go, "Please, can we get some food?" And he goes, "I don't have any money." And I go, "What do you mean you don't have any money? What the hell?" And he goes, "Well, I spent all my money on the gun, the bullets, the gas." And I go, "Shut up, enough." And this reminded me, the way she said it was exactly like how my friend said it when I said, "Why don't you have any money for food?" He said, "I spent all the money on the gun and the bullets and the car gas." Well, okay, now what do we do? So let's hear that again. She spent all her money on what?
Going to be reinvested into making more content. So yeah, anyway, I'm over my tear fest, but holy cow, do some of those people have intense things they're getting through. But I kind of appreciate the
money
reality check. It's nice to remember. It's good to remember how bad things were.
No, it's not.
At one point. So check out the group. If you're interested. The money is going towards making more content. YouTube, mainly Instagram.
Jamie, I saw, I did see some dipshit made a video where he's all, Salisbury steak was actually invented because it was something that kills disease by some doctor several hundred years ago. And it's like, yeah, like snake oil salesmen were all over claiming that all kinds of things did things. That has nothing to, that gives no relevance to the point. Like a bunch of meatards sent me that video this week. Like, oh, diss. And it's like, how is this a diss? Because some doctor in the 1800s thought prescribing Salisbury steak to his patients rid them of disease. Like, that doesn't mean anything. That's not like, it's not like a proof of anything. It's not like a scientific meta study, a study of hundreds of studies of thousands and thousands of people. Like, it's such a dumb, and it's like, the thing is with these, it's not just all meat, like meatards aren't everyone. Like, it's these guys that bend the truth over this stuff. And they find little clips like this and they get so excited about it and they sent it to me and they're like, oh, burn. And it's like, dude, are you really this gullible that you believe this kind of stuff? So everyone should eat meat because some guy named a meat plate Salisbury steak and like, like, it's the dumbest thing in the world. Like, it's really dumb arguments. I have a lot of really smart people on my Facebook, and when it comes to this stuff, they just fucking, all logic goes out the window. And I get it. They have to defend their thing that they're doing because everyone else is doing it, but it's really stupid. Yeah. Okay. Race lever. But yeah, it's so ridiculous that like people are coming to me with this kind of like thing as evidence, and it's like, you realize like when we do debates, we study for like, hours and hours and hours and hours and weeks sometimes ahead of time, like reading studies. And then people will send me, oh, some YouTuber did some 10-second rant about Salisbury steak, like some doctor prescribing Salisbury steak. And it's just like, it's mind numbing.
Hey, how's it going, man?
What's up, bro?
Yeah.
I'm not sure the specific comment you're referring to now, but yeah.
Oh, there's some video. There's some video of some dude nobody knows this. These vegans are so stupid. The Salisbury steak was actually invented by some doctor who was prescribing it to his sick patients, and it healed all their diseases. And it's just a clip of that. That's just a clip. And it's got like 1 billion views, and all these meatards are like, oh, proof vegans are stupid. And it's like, oh my God. Like,
the only thing I could think is that
doctor, anyone could be a fucking doctor. It doesn't really mean anything. And actually, doctors live like 8 years less than the general public. So they clearly have no idea what we should be doing.
Having a good sleep cycle turns out to be pretty important, right?
Yeah, sleep, water, exercise.
Working
carbs,
24-hour shifts, and then not being able to sleep without medication, like doctors generally have to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it turns out that that's not a medically wise lifestyle, right?
No.
I was thinking, to the extent that Salisbury steak ever saved people at any point in history, it's got to be because they're like starving themselves because they can't eat solid food, right? They need something soft, like really old people or really sick people who are almost on a liquid diet, and the only semi-solid thing they can eat is applesauce. And then, okay, we've made meat like super, super soft so you can get some extra calories from somewhere. It can't be just like generally healthy people who are able to like chew and digest a wide range of food.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna watch Mike for a little.
Yeah.
We're gonna watch Mike for a little bit until some more fools show up.
Yeah.
I just wanted to comment on that comment.
She was crying because everybody hated it and decided, you know what? Don't waste these tears. Let's use them to try to get more sales, more signups. Very disturbing. I think we have some more footage from her today. The next day, let's cut to her the next day. So she posts the crying video, but let's take a look the next day and see where she was at. The very next day. Don't worry, the Meat Queen's got a lot of. Thanks to all the people who joined. Is she still wearing the bra? Is this the right
those
video?
are the ones you just watched.
Those are the ones I just watched. So where's the very next day video? That's what I'm looking for. I think they're all in the same thread. That's why I'm using the money to produce content. That's the one we just watched, right? So where's this next dayer? The cat came back the very next day. Okay, we saw that. 6 more comments. Where's the next day video? Oh, another short update. No, I thought Boris put one up and he said the next day. Let's see what this is. Here. Come on.
There, I put together.
Okay, she's smart. Is this different?
Day.
Yeah. Here we go.
Still
the next
enjoying
one.
this new.
Today is a better day. It's hard to tell because it looked like she was still wearing the bra, but this is in fact tank top.
Bra.
Tank top, yeah, sports bra. She looks beautiful today. Let's hear what she says.
Today is a better day. I'm still enjoying this new Lion's Lair I put together.
Look how happy.
Lion Slayer.
There are a whole bunch of women in there. I thought it was going to be men because a bunch of my followers are men. But there are actually a whole bunch of women in there too, which is cool.
I should get in there. There's chicks in there. That sounds like quite a party. What am I missing? Ooh, is it all text-based? Ooh, I can't wait to see chicks writing. That's better than just guys writing.
And I'm not as teary as yesterday. Yesterday, I was reading some of the stories and
look at this, and then it flashes on the screen text, using money to produce content. So while she's saying this, she has a flashing update that says, using the money to produce content. Don't fret. Watch this.
There are men, but there are actually a whole bunch of women in there too, which is cool. And I'm not as teary as yesterday. Yesterday, I was reading some of the stories and literally cried. But I'm much more solid today. I'm going to be using the money to produce more content that will be up on YouTube for free and Instagram and everything. So I do appreciate the support. And I'm looking forward to actually maybe putting a team together to produce more content.
Wow. Look at that. Now, we got word that 20 people have joined. She actually posted something saying 20 people have joined. Okay. We're going to keep up to date with those numbers. We're going to keep checking in. I wanted to take a quick look at this guy. Let's just put him on our radar. This is the guy that apparently she got the idea from. I know nothing about this. I don't know how people know about this guy. Mr. Plenty, is that his name? Tate something? At of Wudan on Twitter. I go where I want and I do what I want. I'm like Indiana Jones with a whole lot of sex and supercars. This is possible because I make money no matter where I am. In the free webinar below, I'll show you how you could replicate what I do. And apparently it's some sort of Magneto type of guy. What do they call this guy? Mysterio? Remember there was a love guru? Now this is the guy that she apparently is working with.
She met up with him in Romania.
How do you know this?
Because she posted a picture with him.
Oh, this is the guy who was jacking off.
Yes.
She went to Romania, met up with this guy who's got a long history of self-help, love guru. He also was a magician at one point, right? He did like a whole Chris Angel type of, he was an illusionist. He did illusions.
Here, I'll find the picture of them together.
Yeah, remember that? We looked at that picture, and it's a very suggestive, horny picture. Let's watch what this guy is like. Let's see. Come on. He's smoking a stogie, a cigar.
Nadlac. Nadlac is a town on the edge of Romania and Hungary. I'm here because McLaren have sent a truck from Stuttgart to collect my McLaren. They can't collect it in Romania, so I've driven to the nearest.
So he's one of these guys. You see this? There's like 1 million Instagram accounts for guys like this. You want a McLaren? You want a Maserati? You want a Bugatti? You better work, bitch. You want a martini? That line always in that Britney Spears song. I love that one. She's like, you want a Bugatti? You want a Maserati? You want a mansion? You got to work. But then she has one line where she goes, you want a martini? You better work, bitch. It's like,
martinis are like $11.99.
I could really make one for almost free. So he's one of these guys, and there's a lot of losers online that like literally just look at these Instagram pages where it's just like one day they post like a really expensive car, and the next day they post a picture of a yacht, and the next day it's a picture of a watch, and then the next day it's a picture of like a James Bond type woman getting her dress unzipped by a guy in a luxury hotel. And they're like, ooh, the lifestyle. Oh, I would love to have this lifestyle. And they listen to guys like this who promise the key is to that lifestyle. Listen.
Point, which is Nadlac in Hungary, so I can put my car in a truck to Stuttgart because it needs a few edits and adjustments, plus some winter tires because the snow is coming.
That's like saying Gangnam Style.
When I finish in Nadlac, and the McLaren, which is over there, is on the truck.
The McLaren.
I'm going to get
here in my garage.
When you find out about these guys, they've rented everything. Nothing's in their name. There's like 1 million of these guys right now. They post videos. Check out my new house. It's just an Airbnb. Here's my Maserati. You want to get a Maserati like me? Find out $600 a month.
Aston Martin Vanquish S Ultimate, only 175 in the world. I'm going to drive to Cluj, 4 hours drive. I'm going to chill in a 5-star penthouse.
Wow.
Because this is my life. I ain't got a job. I go where I want. I do what I want. I'm like Indiana motherfucking Jones.
Wow.
Plus a bunch of sex and shit.
Hey, kid, want a bus ticket? That's Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones wasn't a snob, a rich snob. Well, maybe he was. Here.
And I can afford to do this because I trade
staying in 5-star penthouses.
I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, I don't know how to trade cryptocurrency. You don't need to know how because you can copy me. If I make 100% profit, you make 100% profit.
Oh my God.
All you need to do is watch my completely free webinar. Pause for a second. Let me have a little bit of a cigar. Let me say that again.
Wow. If you fall for this guy, you're really low. Like, what kind of guy? And he's doing, this is the guy who taught Michaela how to make that website.
Yes, we have proof.
So if you reach out to the right idiots, they're going to believe this. Because what guy would ever believe this? I mean, you got to be severely mentally ill. Look at this. This is a new low in humans, someone's saying. Hey, I like profits. Free, that's a great price. What's the catch? There's no catch. You're just his good friend now. Now, the catch comes later. See, Michaela, there was no catch last year with Michaela. Remember when Michaela was making you fall in love with her for a year? There was no catch, right? Everything was free. Until there was a catch, the Lion's Lair. So these guys set you up. They get you hooked in, and then they give you, oh, wait. You're missing the last ingredient, the key ingredient. That'll be 600. So they really get you right up to that line. And then
they make it so that you need them.
Yes.
Completely free webinar. You watch it.
This is to
12
get you
hours
in.
left until it expires, and then maybe you can stop being a bumbleclot in the life force.
Wow. Has nothing to do with Romania. Stopping a bumbleclot.
Now I sent you, if you go to my messages,
Okay.
that Facebook link right there.
Disgrace book, as I like to call it, huh?
So they met up.
Here they are. This is them in Romania looking very happy about their new. He goes, you can make 600K in a day with your meat group. Look at that. There they are. And he's making this face like he's jerking off a 9-inch cock. And there's Michaela looking small within his arm. So he's either a big guy or she's small, right? It's a different side of Michaela. The daughter is back at the hotel locked in a bird cage. Okay, so that's him. She said she liked top quality
And we
meat.
know that she is working with him because if you click that screenshot I just sent you, sent
Okay.
in by Boris K, the last
The
thing.
last thing. Okay,
you can
look
see
at
that
this.
he uploaded her Vimeo video to her website.
Wow.
The Lion's Lair from Andrew Tate on Vimeo.
Ooh, Lion's Lair from Andrew
So he's
Tate.
doing this all for her.
Yes, they're in cahoots, and she's being trained by the Tate.
So he met up with her and he tricked her. She might even be
Wow.
paying him. To do
Yes,
this.
of course.
And I put a link to his website in there
Where's
too.
this?
Just scroll up if you need it.
This
Oh,
one?
in the chat. Sorry.
Oh, in the chat.
In my chat.
Okay, let's
Right,
see
that.
this one. Here we go. This is his
So
website.
he sells stuff like this.
Look
all
at this.
The time.
So this is Tate's got a lot of businesses here. A PhD program, a war room trading academy, a fitness program, a body language program. Learn how to be a master at chess.
Oh my God.
Why would he even put these all on the same page? So he's got his hand in all this. Look at this. Iron Mind, a 6-week mental training program. Network Brilliance, the Inner G Circle of Instagram Supercharge.
So she learned inner circle from him.
So
That's
she's
cool.
now he's going into meat. He goes, of course, diet.
Music video services, tactical
Wow.
training.
And it's got a guy, looks like Luis J. Gomez with an AR. Operator tactical training. So he's selling it all. Whatever he can sell, he's selling. Look at this. Tate on women. Let's see this video. Here we go. Tate on women, if you don't mind. This is Michaela's coach. This is crazy. And he's not cool. He's like a total loser. He's got this one car that no one
I've got
wants.
an unpopular opinion for you.
Wait, is this the same
You're going
guy?
to be on my YouTube
Yeah.
channel. You need to understand that I live in the real world. The real world is sexist. When I say that, people start freaking out, going, you hate women. I don't hate women. I just think men are better than women
Wow.
at certain things. And they happen to be the things that are extremely important for survival.
How has Jordan Peterson got to get out of rehab and put a stop to this? She's ruining his name.
I know. I was just
I
thinking
can't
that.
trust Jordan Peterson if he allows this. That means Jordan Peterson is probably the same type of guy, a bad guy.
A scammer.
You would think Jordan Peterson would go, please, honey, I know you love Tate. I love Tate too, but this looks very bad to us. I mean, can't you have the whereabouts? If you're such a genius, don't you have the, it's like with Gavin McInnes. I don't mind you doing the Proud Boys. What I mind is that you thought you could do the Proud Boys. Like, what are you thinking? What do you think's going to happen here? So why are all the smartest men in the world making the dumbest moves?
Next time a woman gives you that strong, independent woman bullshit, you need to remind her that less than 200 years ago, without a man in her life, she would literally die.
Wow.
Men hunted. Men are stronger. We can run faster. We can swim further. We can fight.
Again, the bad Boris K checking his ATM balance here. Whoa, got enough for this? Bad Boris K is already hooked. He found a new show.
There's a lot of things a man can do that a woman instinctively cannot do. And for a long period of
This is
history,
insalatory.
if a woman didn't have a man, she would literally die and starve to death. So women need men for survival. Men don't need women. Yeah, we like to fuck women, and we need women to have babies. But in general, a man can
I'm sorry,
survive on his
Jules,
own.
that you have to hear
A
this.
woman
It
can.
hurts.
And if you look at the way the world is, this is why women are instinctively attracted to alphas or attracted to men with money or status, because women know they need to be provided for and cared for. Any real woman who's going to not come at you with this new age feminist bullshit is going to agree with you. She's going to sit there and go, yeah, you're actually right. Women need men far more than men need women. And that's because men are physically superior to females. And in the real world, you take away society, you go down to the very basic instincts of what being a human
I knew it. I was going to just say, I bet there's someone in the chat that goes, to be fair, ... Here's one. Look at this. We're going to read this guy's name. Quads S-Y. Quad S-Y. He's not wrong. Oh, buddy. He's not wrong. This is the stuff I listen to every day. Ew. I don't even want to discuss this because if guys who like this kind of stuff are in here, that is so gross to me. And I don't even want to be, I hate that you're even listening to a guy like me. Yikes. He's not wrong. This is what I subscribe to. Are you sick? Are you really that pushed out from society that this is what you've turned to? You know, how disgusting. So this is where Michaela is. She's with Tate. She's got the lion's lair. This has got Tate's name all over it.
Now I'm starting to get a little bit worried about her.
Of course she's in Romania. Imagine the need to go to Romania to set something like this up.
And talked her right into this. And now she's going to lose it all.
You need to do lion's lair, bro.
She was probably totally fine with that stupid group
No,
until he
believe me,
convinced her.
she's been addicted to this cash ever since her dad got her established. Now remember, Jordan Peterson his Patreon. Jordan Peterson admitted this himself. Most of Jordan Peterson's Patreon went to Michaela.
Last I checked, your Patreon was it's incredible.
Yeah.
The amount of support.
Yeah.
Last I checked, it was at like 40,000. I don't know what it's at now. How has that money enabled you or changed the way you live your life? What has that done for you?
Well, I still haven't figured that out. I mean,
Right.
it's enabled me to help my kids get established in the city, so that's been really useful.
So when you were donating to Jordan Peterson to get his feet off the ground, he was using that money to, and I quote, establish Michaela in the city. Yep. She has a luxury condo down there. That wasn't cheap. That was about $569K that he used right out of that Patreon. That was his first thing. He loves his kids. You know, he's got another son that we've never seen. Yikes. Tate could be his fucking other kid for all we know. This family, I tell you. All right, keep your eye on this. Let me know. I know the Bring Back group has been covered with this stuff, and I'm so glad that we finally filled you in because there's probably a lot of people like, what is all this Michaela stuff? I hope that was a nice rundown. Does everybody feel filled in?
I think so.
All right, can you repeat after me? Rolling with the homies. Can you do that?
Where's everyone? Jesus. You guys are lagging this week. Present more Mike Red Bar. Someone you should know.
Is this queued up at a certain point?
No, I haven't watched it either.
Okay. Well, let's just take a peek at this because Michaela Peterson, okay, it was revealed on the H3H3 podcast. Jordan Peterson was on there. And it was revealed that Jordan Peterson used a lot of his Patreon money. He gets a lot of money off Patreon, and they go, you know, you're making a shitload of money off Patreon. What are you using it for? He goes, well, I used a lot of that money to get my kids established in New York City. And I'm thinking, to get your kids established in New York City, what does that mean? So it looks like he got them condos in New York City, the both of them. He has a son, too. I don't know the son.
Come at me, Jamie.
And Michaela Peterson does not have a job. She started this hustle where she talks to Jordan Peterson's...
Jeremy, I don't know if you know, but your device is no longer attached.
Incel fans. I'm not saying if you're a fan of Jordan Peterson, you're an incel. I certainly don't think that. I happen to like Jordan Peterson a lot. But she's found this hustle where she figured out a lot of Jordan Peterson.
Let's find something we don't disagree about. We disagree about. Dinosaurs. Are dinosaurs real?
It's fans. They want to be part of the Peterson family, and they're gifting this girl like a cam whore. They're giving her money. They're giving her support, and she really doesn't have to do anything. And in fact, she isn't doing anything.
You there, Jeremy?
Yep.
Yeah.
fire was just
Still no
going out.
camera, huh? You couldn't buy a $10 camera from CVS.
You know, there's no CVS, man. They don't have it at Dollar General. I'm in a fucking
Sure they do.
tiny
They
ass
absolutely do have webcams at Dollar General.
I don't know. I got a different laptop that I'll be able to use once I get back to Korea and able to easily get the right cable for it. Now it can't charge the battery on it, but yeah, I know that. You know what happens is when you're getting ready to like travel internationally, you're like decluttering, getting rid of stuff. I know webcam's small, but I've been trying to sell stuff and not buy any stuff. And then when I get back over there, start buying on the other side.
Yeah.
I know. I just haven't thought of it. I wouldn't be using it for anything else other than these live streams. I know it probably costs you thousands of viewers that people can't see my face in action.
Yep.
I'm the Michaela to your Jordan.
We have all these Jeremy Gord simps showing up in incels.
You got the thing started just like JYP or JVP or whatever his initial is, and I'm gonna go all Michaela and draw people over with my sexual charms.
That's funny. Where the hell is Braxton? So what are you about ready to go?
Documents arrived in Korea, I think on Monday. So they the school, I send all the documents to the school, then they have to go into immigration and get the visa processed on that side, and then I'll get the notification that the visa is finished, and then I've got to go drop my passport off in San Francisco for I think usually 3 business days. I got a cousin down near there that I can stay with, but
that's weird.
Making
you do that.
That's just what that's
the Korean embassy or whatever.
The consulate, yeah. The visa approval process, it can vary considerably, but it's not going to be more than a month, I think.
Yeah.
Before it all gets going. I'm pretty satisfied with this new job I got over there. A lot to do once I get over there, though. It's been 9 months. Jeez.
It's gnarly, dude. Traveling's gnarly, or like living abroad is gnarly.
Yeah. Dogs are going wild. But it's been interesting here.
What are you doing with your dogs? Are you taking them with you?
Oh, this is my sister's place. I stay probably, 75% of the time with my sister and niece and nephew, and 25% with my parents.
Oh, that's cool.
Getting stuff done around their house. Just saw my nephew had a really good basketball game, playoff game. Hit 3 3-pointers in a row. Pretty nice.
Really? That's cool. Yeah, my son's really, really into basketball, and he's really good. They just turned my son, his best friend, just turned, I think, 14, but they're like, now they're actually getting really good at basketball.
Oh, yeah.
And, like they're getting old enough to where they're actually like really getting good. And it's like, damn, when me and Allie went and watched them play like last week, and we were just like, holy shit, these kids are getting good. Like, they're both in like, they both just started puberty, so they're like fucking growing like crazy. And
it's true, man. As a teacher and stuff, when you see like 16-year-olds in the classroom, it's pretty easy to still think of them as little kids, right?
Yeah.
You're seeing mostly their minds and their faces and stuff, and you're thinking like, oh God, they got so much to learn about or whatever. But then you see them on the basketball court, like checking each other, and you're like, oh shit. These are the bodies of men here, you know.
Yep.
Slam each other down.
Yeah.
Saw this jump ball kind of situation. Both players with their hands on the ball, and then the heavier one, like by pulling the ball and turning the ball, like picked the other smaller kid up off the ground and like flung him off. It was pretty hardcore.
Yeah, it was funny. My son and his friend were doing like parkour. Like they have like indoor parkour places here in LA. And they like watched some kid like compound fracture his arm. And they're like, we don't want to do parkour anymore.
Parkour, man.
Yeah.
The videos of the situations where like if you make a mistake,
These kids are like jumping off cliffs and
low,
off
yeah.
like skyscrapers and shit. Like they're nuts.
I used to watch. I used to participate in the subreddit called "Watch People Die,"
Yeah.
and you know, maybe part of it is being aphantasic that I can handle stuff like this, and it just like the information gets into my mind. It like mostly makes me a safer driver, safer pedestrian, safer cyclist. You know, looking at all
Yeah.
these videos of just like one momentary mistake.
Well, yeah, it's like all
Yeah,
these
that's
parkour
that.
guys. It seems really dangerous, but me and Allie just went on a pretty crazy ride with a pretty crazy descent, you know, off road, and it's like we're turning hard on bicycles into like cliffs, you know,
Right.
like going down
Yeah.
these descents, and it's like any slight move, and we're donezo every time we go riding. Cycling's very dangerous.
Just some of like the bouldering kind of stuff that I did on the long hike on the east coast of Korea is mostly
Super
because
sketchy.
when I
Yeah.
got off the posted trail, like I missed some markers, but then I could kind of see how to get to where I needed to go. And
Yeah.
and some of what I did, like with a 50-pound pack on, was really stupid.
Yeah, I mean, we
And I
all,
was really
you know,
scared, but pushed through it, you know.
I was right. I was like when I lived in Central America, I was like scuba dive, snorkeling all the time, like in the water, like spear fishing and shit. And it's just like I could have gotten snatched by a shark so easy down there, like alone spear fishing and like the waves.
Yeah,
like a dumbass. Ugh, still feel guilty about that. This poor beautiful fish.
yeah.
What was I just gonna do? Oh, that's right.
Still, you know, it's more
What?
dramatic and more visceral, but it's still like nowhere near the harm that, you know, fucking Donald Trump does just by eating KFC buckets. That's a lot more cruel and without any of the personal risk and involvement. So
Yeah.
the kind of things that seem cruel to people's intuitions are so different from the things that actually cause the most harm to victims.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think I ever did anything like that. You know, I'm from this mountain town, so there's a lot of hunters. So
Hunting. Yeah.
like, we've definitely, you know, gotten game meat from people. So
Gay meat.
I've eaten enough. I've eaten
You've
enough
eaten enough
deer
gay
flesh,
meat, Jeremy?
gay meat, yeah. Game wild animal
Yeah.
flesh I have consumed. But and I did work in a deli and kind of help the butcher sometimes, and some of it in a town like this is like people's hunted animals, but I've never actually. I've shot guns a lot, but I never shot a living being with one yet.
You didn't do a lot of fishing growing up?
I said yet because, you know, like, hopefully I'll take out a home intruder at some point, not because I'll ever shoot a non-human animal.
Hopefully.
Unless these guys don't fucking shut up. What are you on about?
You never you never fished growing up?
Yeah, I did, but like hardly at all. Like,
yeah, I did
never
a lot.
Really
of
had
fishing
any
growing
spillovers
up.
with
I
anybody.
killed
Who
a
had any
lot of
skill.
fucking fish. Killed a lot of fish growing up.
Yeah,
and
my
it's gross, like chopping up fish, and like it's like traumatizing. I never liked it, but
yeah,
you know,
I cooked fish, you know, because I've been a serious cook for a long time. My uncle taught me a lot about cooking, and he had a house on the Sacramento River Delta and a boat that he went fishing quite a bit. He killed a lot of fish out there. Yeah, but again, it's like that seems like something to be harder for people to do emotionally, like you know, gutting a freshly
fish
caught
fish are so weird that we're like able to like they're like easy to disconnect from, and like fishing is such like a normal thing.
But how many
fishing
people,
is
you know,
like a normal thing, like it's so innocent seeming, you know, like societies. It's like, oh, fishing, everyone, you know, it's wholesome to go fishing, killing fish with your parents, you know, like
that's true, but also Americans don't tend to be cool with like say northern France has bouillabaisse where the fish head will just like be in the soup. Like Americans generally, like they'd be creeped out if they saw like an eye looking up at them out of their dish.
Well, it's like, dude, once you go vegan, it's like this sentience, like you're like, okay, well, you know, cows and chickens and stuff like that. And like YouTube's fucked that up for me because like there are all these dumb videos of like, oh, this lady that has these best friend little spiders, and the spiders have little fucking personalities, and they like do the same little routine every day, and it's like, and I'm like, like, you know, it's like, so it's funny to like the longer you're a vegan, the sentience level that you appreciate goes down and changes a lot. It's funny.
that does make a lot of sense, you know.
But like YouTube videos and those dodo videos where they like show like animals helping each other, like out of like, you know, like dangerous situations and shit. And it's just like, come on, like animals are so fucking cool. Like we're so close to them. As far as like being beings, you know.
And like I've said several times in these live streams, I think I'm feeding a fed horse by saying it, but we current version of Homo sapiens are nowhere near the maximum possible like sentience, intelligence, depth of feeling, you know, aesthetic sophistication, whatever scale you want to describe. We are not the 100% point.
No way. Yeah.
It's not like we are fully anything, and then you could ask the question like, what percentage of the human maximum a pig reaches? No. We and the pigs together are barely scratching the surface of what's possible for sentient beings in the future, or theoretically possible. Like we're just like the logical mistakes that most of us make are embarrassing. The failure of our memory, like how bad eyewitness memory is. like for a crime.
Oh yeah. People don't
Fucking
remember shit.
embarrassing.
I don't remember shit. You know, like because so many people are like, oh, my memory is so good, and it's like, nah, I don't know about that. Like,
Yeah, those are just overconfident people,
yeah,
People who report having stronger memories are just more full of shit.
And that's the whole Mandela effect. It's like people are like, oh, my fucking memory is so good. I'm remembering these things, and like there's someone's changed something. Like it's like this like egoic thing where people think that they remember so well that these things that they don't remember are actually some big conspiracy against them, which is kind of funny.
Yeah. Evidence that we're in a simulation. I was sure something happened a certain way, and then I looked it up and it didn't. Hey, dude.
I gotta show you where we're at right now. Hold on one sec.
Let me get a beer.
See this? Sunset? Is that coming up at all? Fucking dope. Did you see that? Oh no, I didn't pull it up. Good lord. Hold on one sec. There we go. All right. Hold on. You there? Getting a feedback. Yeah. So we're in Malibu right now, like parked above like these $10 billion houses. Super nice. Are you there? Race Lever wants to debate me on dinosaurs. He wants to debate one of us on something. He thinks we're afraid.
Oh, man.
But he's the guy who's never come up on any panel ever. So
I'm not sure that the evolutionary clade of dinosaur is very well defined, and then certainly the like named species that we're pretty clear on, they didn't look or act remotely like they're depicted in media, even educational media. So it's really bizarre how this cultural meme has just been allowed to continue in children's science. And I don't believe that that the
it's
Earth
big business, man. A lot of people make a shitload of money off of it.
I mean, if they just so I don't disbelieve in dinosaurs or in the evidence of archaeology, but
you gotta look up the Bone Wars. There these two.
They fucking had feathers. They had fucking feathers, and they're never depicted even in educational materials as having feathers. They definitely did not roar like mammals. A T-Rex did not roar. T-Rex made any sound. It was more like the sounds that birds make, and yet
they're just big crows.
Yeah, it's like it would. Nobody would believe something that's closer to our estimation of the truth, and so it's just educational media has just decided to put these known falsehoods into the that's pretty frustrating. I think there's more egregious examples, like depicting say Romans as all looking like Western Europeans in ancient Rome.
Yeah.
Like people just believe it more if everybody's quote unquote white. When, they would have
the
nearly all had
Moorish, the Moorish influence.
Yeah.
the Canaanites and the Moors and the who else? There was a bunch of foos running around. No, that's so. Actually, contrarian 420, dragons are alligators. We have in China, in Japan, they have like the dragon festivals, and the dragon's always depicted as this nice good luck charm, because the crocodiles that they have in Japan are very nice. And the dragons in Western culture or mythology or whatever, our alligators that we have and that have been around in the past, they're giant, crazy man-eating alligators. And historically, North America was full of giant man-eating bears and literally like scary monsters. Basically, there's some people think that the people who think that North America was not populated 300 years ago believe that it may have been never populated because of all the gnarly animals that were here, that were just kind of like scary ass monsters. But dragons have just been it's the same kind of old mythology. People from Europe came to the United States and saw these fucking monsters in the water. And so they, made up, made up what they were. They, how are you going to explain back at home what you came across when you come across a 20-foot alligator that eats one of your homies? Like you're going to say this fucking giant monster, this like studded freaking scary monster, like you're not going to be able to explain that it's just like this animal that we don't have back at home. Like it's weird. But dragons are most likely alligators, and the whole flying dinosaur thing is complete bullshit. All these dinosaurs, all the Jurassic Park dinosaurs, all the dinosaurs we're taught growing up, it's all BS. Every single sculpture you see in a museum, they fucking lied to us, man. I thought those were actually fucking dinosaurs when I was growing up. But no, they're all plaster sculptures that are made in China. No actual, real, full bones exist. They find something that looks like a bone, which this is the other thing Justin Bedini needs to fucking learn about, is what anomalies are. Anomalies can happen anywhere. An anomaly can be like a rock that looks like something. It looks like, that looks like an axe over there. That looks like something that's man-made. But actually the earth produced it. The earth produced something that looks like something that we produced. And a lot of these like strange conspiracy guys that are kind of off the charts, like point at a lot of these anomalies, or like, petroglyphs and stuff like that, where they're like, oh, look at that. And it's like, like that's evidence for dinosaurs. And it's like, no, dude, that's, like, it's just a lizard. You can't see how big it actually is in the painting. And people had imaginations back then. Like, it's not factual depictions. But the bone wars that happened in the 1800s, all these dinosaurs were made up of these two psycho scientists that were basically like competing against each other on a worldwide stage, inventing dinosaurs. And they were never talked about in history before then. Now all of a sudden, because of how fascinating and amazing and crazy they are, people have made billions of dollars off of dinosaurs. And
so Jeffrey, you're not religious, right?
No.
So this this skepticism here, it isn't connected presumably to something that I would consider culturally very plausible, which is that people would doubt the discovery of evidence of lots and lots of extinct species, because that discovery deeply shook people's faith in in biblical creation.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. Well, that
it's a strong conflict with
That's
Christianity at the time, that there would be, that God would have created different types and then allow them to.
Or that's what I heard was the whole dinosaur thing was made up to fuck with the timeline of the Bible or something like that, or some weird shit. But it's definitely suspicious. I don't buy it in the least bit. Yeah,
I mean,
sure, there may have been
you
big lizards and big reptiles, but not the size of a city block like like what people fantasize what they looked like from watching too many movies. You know.
So you don't deny that the Earth is quite old, at least relative to human, like, recorded written history.
No,
And
I think
and
humans have probably been around a lot longer than
Okay.
they tell. I don't buy anything
Then-
mainstream.
Okay.
I don't buy anything really. I don't know.
You don't have
I only
some
know
kind
what
of,
I
like,
think is bullshit, you know.
you don't have
I
some
don't
kind of
know.
like
I don't know.
quasi-religious opposition to the idea that there have been species that went extinct, like lots of them,
Yeah.
right? Okay, because that was really hard for a lot of people to accept, a couple hundred years ago.
That animals
150 years ago.
that there have been extinct animals.
Yeah, that
probably.
creation wouldn't have been some kind of perfection in terms of the types that existed.
Like things
God's
would have
plan or whatever.
competition. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
That life is about this brutal struggle where not only individuals die, but entire types can be annihilated forever. Yeah.
Yeah, no, there have been species that have been wiped out, but these Hollywood dinosaurs, these Hollywood and elementary school dinosaurs that they shove down our throats in our workbooks and all this stuff, like, it's all complete BS.
So you don't feel the same way about the woolly mammoth, very closely related to existing elephants,
Megafauna?
Yeah, large mammals that are now extinct.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the saber-toothed tiger bones at the La Brea tar pits in LA. You can actually go see them. They're complete, not like these dinosaurs where they'll find one bone and they'll recreate the entire dinosaur from the one bone. Like, that's just... And then all the stories about how these dinosaurs are found, it's always some science guy on an expedition, or some farmer dug something. Like, it's always the same BS story. I have a pretty good video about it, about the bone wars. But it's mostly science fiction, for sure. And then it's and it's like these dudes that are all obsessed with NASA. It's like, they showed them to us when we were kids, and it's been romanticized, and it's just like a part of us. It's like Star Trek. All these Star Trek guys, they're the guys that, like, they won't even look at the flat Earth stuff in the least bit, because they want to go to space so bad because Star Trek. They grew up watching Star Trek, like these Trekkie guys. These like Larkin Rose, total Trekkie. They're just like, no, or like, I know dudes will be like, dude, I saw the fucking shuttle land when I was a kid. It's like, yeah, and that's brainwashed you, right? That that's not evidence for anything, and that you've been brainwashed, and it's just this faith that you're believing that some scientists have said that we went there, so we did. And it's just like I did a video with this guy who's got all these shares in all these space companies, and like, I was like, dude, just prove that space is real. Space travel is real to me. And like, he wasn't able to do it even close. Like, he's like, oh, I got pictures at the star base of me pointing at a rocket. It's like, dude, that is not fucking concrete evidence. Just because something exists doesn't mean that what is said that it does. Did that make sense, babe? you know, like just because the rocket goes into the sky doesn't mean that it's going to space. And it's traveling through space. It could all easily have been faked. Just like the dinosaur shit's BS, you know, they don't even have, you know, like we'd be finding those fucking things everywhere. Oh my God, they'd be everywhere. Just like the woolly mammoth, like up in Alaska, there's like pits of, you know, do you follow any of the Younger Dryas stuff? Like what's,
Hell yeah, I love the
Randall
Younger
Carlson?
Dryas.
Yeah, Randall
Yeah.
Carlson. So
Yeah,
there's
the
all the,
meteorite in was it Greenland?
yeah.
Under the
And
ice.
it melted all the snow, melted all the glaciers, and it all rushed all rushed down from Canada
Mass
and killed all the
megafauna
megafauna.
Yeah.
But they've been telling us that humans killed all the megafauna the whole time. But it's turning
Not
out, oh no,
possible.
yeah, it's turning out that no, there's like these like half-mile deep pits of just like megafauna bones in Alaska that they're digging up. Then it's just like, dude, these weren't humans killing all these giant megafauna. You know,
And all
Joey
these
Schwartz.
civilizations have stories that line up with that timeline. That there's some kind of cataclysm that occurred 12,500 years ago.
Yeah. And if you look at, I mean, you look anywhere, especially in LA, like a giant amount of water came through it here at some point, you know, like
Yeah,
crazy
Nevada
amount of
was
water.
right
Yeah.
next to the canal that bisected North America. That's why we have the Nevada state fossil, the ichthyosaur. It's you know, it's a marine reptile. So we were all underwater here.
Yeah. I'm recreating.
Hey, speaking of the space stuff, because so has anybody ever posed the idea of? You ever heard of before? It was before the 1900s or something. They had this idea of the ether. You know, the element of ether.
Yeah. It used to be on the periodic table and it was taken off.
Right. So this is my hypothesis: is maybe space isn't a vacuum, because I kind of get where you guys are coming from, where it's like, well, if a rocket thrusts, like, what is it pushing against to create, direction? And I've always liked the idea from watching that. You ever seen the STS space footage from the shuttle missions, where there's like that tether that gets like knocked off course, and then they zoom in and there's all these fucking objects flying around and shit, and the cameraman has to scramble to like pan away from it. Well, to me, they don't look like spacecraft as much as they look like organisms, like some kind of amoeba, like floating in the petri dish. And so maybe the ether idea
bubbles.
is like,
those were bubbles because they shoot all that shit underwater.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying now. Well, I guess my idea was that if the ether is maybe some kind of liquid medium,
we used to breathe ether. We used to not have to eat. We breathed ether and we just lived. And something happened.
Is that the people who are sunbathing now?
No,
or you're saying there was people that actually,
all the Tartarian stuff, all the Tartarian conspiracy stuff, that leads you into electricity in the ether. And
like
then once you go farther down that rabbit hole,
palaces that had no bathrooms.
Yeah, like that kind of that kind of shit. Exactly.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, why are all these old ass buildings in Europe that don't have bathrooms?
Yeah,
and they're
what's
like,
that guy's name? Mind Unveiled. Have you seen him?
Mind Unveiled is the shit.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah, he's got some good stuff.
Have you seen his like 4-hour-long videos on veganism?
Yes, yeah, that's where I heard about the
history
no bathroom
and
thing.
in cultist, like it's fucking
it's really
crazy.
good.
That dude, we were watching his shit, and then he dropped that one, and we're like, dude, this dude's a fucking G. Like,
yeah,
that was a really good video. because he went into all the occult stuff, you know, and like all the like the Hindu shit, and like it's just like, holy crap, this isn't a new thing. Veganism is not new. The idea of not living off of sentient beings is not a new thing. That's just a fad that's happening right now. It's been happening for thousands of years, and it's been the eternal struggle of you know,
and
like
it's always been correlated with much more intelligent and like spiritually sophisticated individuals as well in all those places and times.
Yeah,
like it's pretty good. I don't know. It's pretty good argument for a form of moral realism. This sort of convergence of the people who spend the most time thinking about the nature of reality and morality, converging upon the same conclusion as more or less obvious.
Yeah. So on that note, I wanted to bring up kind of maybe a little known piece of fiction that kind of hints at veganism. So I'm a big Halo fan, and I've read a lot of the novels that dive deeper into the lore of the Halo universe. And so in the Halo universe, there's these kind of supreme beings that created all the architecture, the Halo rings, and these big installations. They're the Forerunners. And so they have like a creed or like a code of conduct for being the most advanced species in the universe. And it's called the Mantle of Responsibility. And it's basically saying, because you hold so much power, you're instructed with this a responsibility to take care of all of the lesser beings underneath you. It's kind of like the idea of a dominion, like the true meaning of that word from the Bible, to have dominion over the earth. It's like it's your moral responsibility to take care of the others that may not have the power to take care of themselves or everybody else.
That's fucking sick.
Yeah, and if you read in the books, they say that they abstain from eating meat, but they don't outright say vegetarian and vegan. Yeah, so I was like, yeah, in the Halo story, as it's progressed now, the human race now is becoming the new holders of the Mantle of Responsibility. So so I hope that is something they explore going forward, that the human race has to adopt
shit too. Like that could be
that we have to adopt this code of conduct if we're going to be the caretakers of the universe.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like who in the Halo development team came up with that shit?
Yeah, I really want to dig into that and email some people, because it's kind of scattered now, because originally it was developed by Bungie, but Bungie now left the kind of Microsoft umbrella.
Yeah.
And they're working on all their own stuff, but a lot of the guys, that originally started it have scattered and they're doing their own thing. So I wonder if I can get in contact with some of them and be like, hey, who pinned down this idea that the Forerunners and the Mantle of Responsibility was to be vegan caretakers of all other life forms in the universe?
Some former straight edge kid that works for Activision or something.
Yeah.
It's like, put that shit in there. He's like, hell yeah. Jeremy, your device isn't working again if you're still in there. So, do you know, so we were talking about Will Keller in the chat.
Okay.
Right? You know about this whole thing? You know about Will?
So I don't know what the whole thing is.
Well, he's not vegan.
Right. Yeah. So we've gotten into that.
And we're years later and he's still not vegan. And so
so we've been at this for a while.
Yeah, so I several months ago I was trying to get on on remember, I don't know if you might remember, I was like every week I was getting in the chat, the chat to try and get on live because I was gonna like talk some shit on Mark Passio's podcast.
Right.
And so one of the podcasts he was interviewing Will, and I've been friends with Will on Facebook for a long time, but they were like, I don't know, Will was just talking about like doing less harm and blah 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 blah. And it was like, but you know, so you're still not vegan, and now we're years later, or it's like, you know, and he's being and you know, like he's getting big in the whole Mark Passio world, I guess, and that's super cool. But like,
Right.
like how have you still like you've seen Mark's videos about carnism, so what's the hang up, bro?
Yeah. Well, the hang up seems to be, and this is where I commented that one post. It's the same excuse that Justice what's his name, Wagman, said. To me, it sounds like we can't chew bubble gum and walk at the same time.
There's other there's too many other important things going on that I need to too many things I need to be doing on Facebook all day. Like,
yeah,
it's like these guys think that they're like changing the fucking world. Like, bro, you're some, especially Wagman. Like, holy crap, that guy.
that was a mess. That whole post was a nightmare.
No, I mean, it's just, I just don't get it. And so, you know how, I don't know. I just think the show needs to have a list of, you know, we need to keep on these guys. Cause it's just,
Yeah.
are you kidding me? Like, how have you not figured this out yet? And it's and like me and Allie were talking about it. It's like, okay, well, some of these guys don't have any vegans around them and haven't really heard that, you know, haven't had people like, you know, because it's just you live.
There's nobody
you know,
holding them
and going to work
accountable.
and doing everything. Yeah, so it's like,
Yeah.
so we're gonna start harassing some fools. You know,
We're gonna
like
start harassing
it's ridiculous at this point. It's completely ridiculous at this point.
It is, especially when one of the things that they hold up high is, you know, that we need to change from within, you know, that it all starts with yourself, you know, self-control and self-knowledge and progressing yourself spiritually.
And sacrifice, and, you know, like, it's like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, if we can't start with, you know, 3 times a day making the choice to do less harm, we're not helping ourselves get out of this cage. We're keeping ourselves firmly planted in that cage.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, and, you know, like, I don't know, like, if it's all like, it's oh, we're just humans, we're just you know, we're just innately bad, and we just innately have to kill. It's this bullshit that we're, you know, we're just bad, you know.
Yeah.
And so we have to kill, we have to kill each other, therefore we have to kill animals, you know. And it's like, you know, it's just, it's nuts. But yeah, I thought you know, I thought Braxton was going to be here because he was pretty like pissed off.
Yeah, no, and he had some interesting things to say in regards to the arguments that get put forth there and the flip-flopping. And I noticed this too now, and finally we can put our finger on it. When we get people backed into a corner with the moral argument, then they flip over to the health argument. Right. And then when they can't win health argument, then they flip to the moral one.
Yeah, gish.
Oh yeah,
yeah. That's what you know, what atheists and whatever secular activists have to deal with, from especially the Christian right. They call it gish galloping, just jumping from one
You
objection
shout.
to another so fast that you can't keep up with your attempts to address them. Not ever staying on one topic long enough to actually have the
Yep.
reasonable response come out.
Yep.
By the way, dude, I'm not having problems. I'm unplugging my headset so I can keep listening to you guys when I have to go. Right now, it's getting this fire started.
Oh, is it cold up there?
It's a bit cold. It's not a super cold winter, but I'm just trying to. It was going out a couple of times, so I was getting out the bellows and rearranging it, making sure it gets going.
Fancy.
But yeah, I didn't want to lose track of the conversation by just putting my headset down. So that's what I've been doing. I'm listening to you guys anytime I do that. That was great what you said. While I was stoking up the fire there.
So Devin, do you still watch Mark's podcast?
Yeah, yeah, and I was gonna comment on what you said last time. I still enjoy Mark. I personally don't have an issue with the anger. I like it. I don't know. I get something out of it. I know where he's coming from, and I know where the cutoff point was. It's like I could understand where you've been doing this for over a decade, and you get frustrated because virtually nobody has risen to the level that you have to really like pick up the slack. So that's why I'm like, when you said you don't really care for the anger and screaming and all that stuff.
Well, it's mostly the begging for money. The anger and screaming is one thing, but like the begging, and it's just him in general. I just have a hard time listening to whether he's angry or not. Just some people I can't watch them for very long, and some people I can watch all day. But it's mostly the begging for money that just the second any activist starts begging for money, they lose me, and I don't care what they're talking about. Like it's like, dude, keep your fucking day job. Don't try and go do this. You're gonna ruin everything you have good going for you. Like these guys can't. Like you can't.
And he's obviously a really smart and skilled individual. It's not like, and he's talked about.
I don't know
what he could do or what he does for a living.
Yeah,
like
all
like
these
nodes.
He wants all these nodes running. Like he wants to send a satellite into space so he can beam his message out over the masses. Like I just like why? We have YouTube, bro. You're making YouTube videos. Like you're never gonna do anything that's gonna be better than making YouTube videos. And it's like I've been dealing with these fucking types for a while. And it's just I can't deal with the fucking like, dude, keep your day job, keep working. Stop. Don't think that you're going to get by begging for money from everyone, It's just
I was just thinking of something similar to that, Jeffrey, that efficiency of advertising, trying to advertise through space. There's this Robert Heinlein short story, one of the greatest science fiction short stories, called The Man.
I used to read him when I was a kid.
Yeah,
I don't remember what books, but I know I read a couple of his books.
The Man Who Sold the Moon is sort of about this like venture capitalist sort of guy who there's a lot of other things that he's doing to try to get this this moon mission funded, but he in particular he goes to this like soda company, and it's called like 6 Plus or something, and he goes if you pay me whatever $10 million, which I guess is a lot more at that time because it's like in the 50s. If you pay me $10 million, I'll put your logo on the face of the moon. So you have the best advertising, your logo on the moon. And then he goes to the competitor and he goes like, instead of suggesting that he put their logo on the moon, he says, I'll just if you pay me like $15 million, I'll tell everybody that you saved the moon from your evil competitor. you kept the pristine nature of the moon by paying to have your competitor's logo not deface the moon. So he ends up getting money from the second company and not having to actually do anything. But what I was thinking about that is today you could spend all this money and effort putting your company's logo on the face of the moon, but people are spending more time with their heads tilted down looking at their little screens than they are looking up at the moon anyway. So like an advertisement on TikTok is orders of magnitude better than having it having it on the near face of the moon.
Yep. I mean, I look at some of my my Facebook page, not my personal page, but like my group, my like it's called useless information. Like I go look back, it'll show me my numbers from several years ago, and I had 12 million views, impressions at one point on one post. Like I that's like competing with freaking CNN and shit, like, you know. And that's just like a single post I made, and like, you know, doing like RSO and stuff, and aggregating articles. You know, it's just wild how far you can actually put something out these days, if it's a interesting enough topic. I don't know if you ever saw that, Devin. I post when I worked for Luke Radowski. I wrote an article about traveling without a license. I called it driving.
I've referenced that. Yeah, I've referenced it many times. And
I called it driving in the title.
Oh.
and so that article, when I left when I stopped working for We Are Change, had some insane amount of impressions. And that was in like 2016.
Wow.
And I've seen it go viral again 2 more times since then. It was something like 23 million impressions or something. Like it was someone in the double digits of millions.
Did I send you the link to a cop that was showing that article? There was one of those cops that's, I need to find that again. There's a cop that's debunking.
Yeah, you need to send me that link.
Yeah, he's debunking right to travel, and he references your article.
Yeah, great. Because I totally because I didn't know the terminology, right? I didn't understand it good enough. Yeah. I just the law went through the Supreme Court, where they were like, yeah, you don't need a license to drive.
Those are one of those
use the wrong terminology, and it's like the most viral thing it's got to have 100 million impressions. Like it is a crazy. It's the one, like, and I wrote like, you know, a few dozen articles and aggregated several thousand articles that didn't go nearly as far as that one did. It's got to be the most viral We Are Change video ever, or video, but article, because it was insane. And I think I got paid like $50 for writing that article. Because like how Luke would pay you, he'd pay you. It was like you got a percentage. If it went viral, you got like a big percentage, but it had to go viral within the first week or something, or else you get like $50 for the article. Like, so it was like kind of shitty. But what happened with that one? It took like a couple months till it went viral. So it ended up going viral, and it wasn't in the window for like when I got a percentage of it, but it was incorrect. Definitely incorrect what I said, or at least what I titled it. All the information in that article is correct, but I titled it incorrectly because I was a noob. Noob. Fucking
Yeah, you didn't
noob.
reference UC.
Uh-oh, what? He just zoomed out. You still there? Well,
You're not talking about me, are you?
no.
Okay.
I'm
kind
Devin.
of checking the chat over in the YouTube.
Where's Jeremy's tonight?
Don't know. I was chatting with Phil a little bit, but
yeah, Phil was here for a second. He should come up.
I don't think I've interacted with Jerome today.
Ooh, 4.0 earthquake rattle San Bernardino. Ooh, we had a big earthquake the other day in LA. It was crazy. I thought Allie was jumping around the RV, and she thought I was jumping around the RV. And I was like, holy shit, I think that's an earthquake. And I went outside, and all the telephone poles were shaking, and all these people are walking around all confused looking.
I just saw the new story in San Bernardino where this guy got in a fender bender, and just as he was getting out of the car to apologize or whatever, this woman shot him in the face.
Whoa!
It reads like without any kind of like interaction at all. Just
bam.
Basically, witnesses say she just got out of the car with her pistol out and shot him nearly.
I wonder if she was on keto.
It could be. That's that aggressiveness, that American aggressiveness
Low
from
carbs.
eating lots of sentient beings. That's what's going to protect us from China is getting so enraged on red meat that we shoot each other in the face over a fender bender.
You need carbs to stay like calm.
Also feminism, right? Because it's usually a guy doing
too.
that kind of thing, and this is a woman.
Yeah, that's
so.
crazy.
Equality,
feminism too.
Yep.
Equality,
equality of shooting.
That's crazy.
People
Well, there was a lady that remember that lady that ran a intersection doing like 90 in a Mercedes like last year.
Oh yeah,
and like blew through all these cars and killed some family and some shit. And she was just ranting and raving and screaming at the judge and shit. And it's like, how are these people driving? You know, like, fuck. That just remind me of like that lady, that something like that lady would do, like just like some crazy irrational reaction to an accident. It's gnarly.
But now that I think about it, our good victim was described as running into the Walmart to pick up some salt and soda for making his beef jerky.
Well, one less carnist.
We got a little carnist on carnist action going on.
Let them kill him. Let them kill each other. Let them all kill each other.
I mean, why let the meat go to waste when he's already dead? You know, family's already got the dehydrator to make the jerky. You know,
might as well just eat them.
Yeah, the bullet only went in the head, so the rest of the
we're
body
naturally supposed to eat meat, so
yeah,
it only makes sense to eat our like, humans that die
environmentally too.
Versus like burying them where like in a cemetery. Wait, who's talking in the private chat? Oh, it's you. Oh boy. I thought this show was going to be more exciting. Going to get into some drama.
Well, I'll fill in with some stupid linguist trivia. It's not entirely stupid, but you were talking about ether earlier. Yeah, the other ancient name of ether is quintessence. Quintessence means fifth element, right?
Oh.
That's where that word comes from.
Yeah, is that what they've been hiding from us?
You got earth,
Or
air,
do we
fire,
just
water.
don't
You got-
acknowledge
Oh.
it for what they are?
No, they just call it that. 'Cause, yeah, they have the 4 elements of classical thought: earth, air, fire, and water. And then there's this 5th one that they're proposing called ether. So it was often called quintessence, and then today the word quintessence means like whatever this indescribable. Like,
I think it's a hair dye company.
Something.
Quintessence.
It probably is, but the quintessence of something means like it's like true hidden nature or something like that, right? And that comes from.
Oh, it must be like a shampoo company or something.
Are you talking about herbal essence? There was when we were kids, right? There was the herbal essence commercial that was like
those were hilarious. People are like
faking an orgasms
in the shower, and they pop their head out with clean hair.
If you haven't seen the SNL parody, you gotta look it up. It's got Will Ferrell in that like era of SNL.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
It's herbal essence for men.
That was pretty risque for the 90s.
Yeah, they're doing all this like impression of a male orgasm. That's just like these grunts and growls and screams.
Yeah, that was funny. Subtle innuendo, or not so subtle innuendo.
Yeah, I mean that concept almost writes itself once you think about it. But yeah, it's kind of surprising that those commercials were on in whatever the late 80s.
Where's the beef? 90s. Do you remember Where's the Beef?
Oh yeah.
Old lady. Where's the beef? Creepy old lady innuendo from the 80s. And that was like, oh, everyone was going crazy over that fucking those commercials. There ended up being like 40 of them. People were so simple-minded back then. I mean, they are now too, but
holy shit, dude.
Just the general population was just so much more brainwashed back then, it seems like.
Yeah, commercial mascots making it into like popular culture to where people were like voluntarily like wearing them like, around.
Yo quiero Taco Bell.
Yeah, Taco Bell Chihuahua. I was gonna say Spuds McKenzie.
Spuds.
I guess that was for Budweiser, right? One of the beer companies.
Yeah. I wonder.
And then Bart Simpson was in the early days of The Simpsons. It was all about Bart, and he was connected to all these products. I know one of them was Butterfinger. Yeah, you got people just fucking advertising Butterfinger just because they like Bart Simpson, and half the Bart Simpson T-shirts and hats and stuff would have some kind of product connected to him.
Yeah. Bart.
And that's The Simpsons.
I mean, Jesus Christ, you remember Pepe Le Pew,
left
dude?
wing and like anti-corporate and stuff. And
remember Pepe Le Pew?
Yeah.
Oh, what were you gonna say about quintessence? Allie wanted to know.
Oh.
Were you just sharing the other word for it?
Just like, yeah, the word comes from meaning 5th element, referring to ether, and then like the way
is that like a language correctly translated?
Yeah, and then
what language?
Then now, well, Quint is Latin
probably. Yeah.
So, but now if you look up the modern definition of quintessence, it says the most perfect or typical example of a quality or class or a refined essence of a substance. So it went from referring to ether to now just like referring to
tincture,
general like truest nature of something.
Oh,
so it's kind of interesting. That was sort of the conceptual role that ether played for people, I guess.
Did you get into the Tartarian thing at all?
No.
Yeah, so the whole Tartarian thing is that brick buildings, or at least in the past, were able to store energy absorbed by the ether. So Tesla, like he was pulling electricity just out of the air. allegedly. And so the whole Tartarian thing is all these, all these super old structures were actually, we used to have free energy basically. And it was just the buildings we lived in were just absorbing energy all the time. And if you look up like what is actually in bricks, it's like, like bricks can actually hold a small amount of energy. So like the formula is there to do that. But the whole ether breathing is kind of an interesting rabbit hole. What I was talking about earlier, us not needing food in the past and some sort of event happening that either messed with our DNA or messed with just nature in general in some way to where things are different. We needed to drink water and eat food and breathe oxygen instead of getting everything we needed from the ether. Kind of interesting shit. Definitely really interesting shit. I don't know if, like what Devin mentioned, there's a channel called Mind Unveiled. Every single video this guy has is amazing. As well as Old World Florida is a really, really good channel. Florida's a weird ass place. There's a lot of cool channels, but Mind Unveiled especially, he makes these really long videos that are absolutely watchable. And we've learned a lot from that dude. If he is like, it's kind of a weird because some of these channels I like get weird feelings about. Like the Mind Unveiled channel so good that it almost seems like it's some sort of psyop, like it's just all bullshit. Like it's so well put together, and the dude narrates everything, and it's like his voice is just too good. Like it's like everything is too perfect that it just like seems strange to me and kind of freaks me out a little bit because it's such a good channel. I'll send you, Jeremy, I'll send you the link for the one he did on veganism, and it's mind blowing. It's one of the best pieces I've seen on veganism, at least like historically.
Well, okay.
They definitely, veganism's definitely not a new thing, like all these people want to claim.
Yeah,
the Hindu, the Buddhist, yeah.
Neither is something like something akin to utilitarianism, really. I mean, this basic concept of caring about moral patients directly, that's really the core. I mean, there's other aspects of Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill that might be, somewhat new and like particularly English, or Scottish, but because there were some Scottish philosophers who were kind of precursors to them too. But the general core is that moral patients have moral standing directly because certain experiences are good or bad, and in particular because suffering is bad per se. Just suffering as suffering is bad. That's not new. That's found all over the place in the ancient world.
Yeah.
Famously with Pythagoras and the Pythagoreans, but
like whether or not it has to do with eating anything or diets or anything, there has always been, that idea that that's bad, basically.
I mean, you see it reflected in like the way that Pythagoreans talk about war, right? Say there's quotations that are saying some form of the idea that that nations can't suffer, abstract concepts like the city state can't suffer, but when there are wars, lots of actual individuals do suffer. The concept that it's like at the level of the individuals that are capable of positive and negative sorts of experience that that makes particular events or actions good or bad. Not in quite so like so clear and modern a form as Bentham was able to do, but the basic sentiment that all these abstract ideals that promulgate in society are dangerous and bad when they
The hell does promulgated mean?
like spread, you know. So all these abstract ideas of like honor and patriotism and whatever are dangerous in large part because they
Is there like a guy who started the whole utilitarianism thing?
Well, yeah, I mean, the word and the modern concept is attributed to Jeremy Bentham, and then John Stuart Mill was just as famous. He was the son of Bentham's close friend, basically, and like became Bentham's student. But
and how would you explain utilitarianism in your words?
Classical utilitarianism, the components of it, one is that one is just consequentialism, that what makes an action morally better or worse entirely has to do with its expected consequences. So it doesn't have to do with, say, the motivation of the person who took the action, or what kind of virtues they have, as in other ethical theories. It doesn't have to do with whether the individual is like following a rule or breaking a rule. It has to do with the consequences that the action has, right? So that's the first part, is consequentialism. Then the second part of classical utilitarianism is universalism. So basically that all moral patients, like all beings that can feel happiness or suffering, should be factored into the equation. Like so it opposes egoism, like bias toward your own interests, and also other things like bias to your own family or your own nation or your own race or something like that. So
well, wouldn't it inherently be against libertarianism then too? Because libertarianism is all about the individual.
I don't think so at root, because libertarianism is a political philosophy, and utilitarianism is a moral philosophy. So libertarianism talks about what people should be compelled to do or forced to do, and utilitarianism talks about which choices are more or less moral. So there's nothing contradictory in saying people should have the freedom to try to only promote the well-being of their own immediate family and not give a shit about the well-being of anybody else. To say that people should have a right to choose that, but then also say that they're morally bad people if that's what they happen to choose. That's not a contradiction at all. Just like in specific cases, it's not a contradiction if somebody believes that, that abortions are immoral but should also be legally protected, or, drinking alcohol is immoral but should be legally protected. All these other specific instances where libertarians are going to criticize a particular choice, but think that people should have a political right to make it. Yeah, that basically says it all, right? That makes sense, doesn't it? The moral and the political are extremely different.
Got it.
And then usually there's kind of a third component of classical utilitarianism, which is like so beyond consequentialism says that the only thing we should care about is the consequences. There's this kind of separate feature that says the only consequences that matter are pleasures and pains. Like, and that's often referred to as welfarism in the philosophical literature, which is very, very different from what welfarism means in like the animal ag industry. So it confuses a lot of vegans because they think welfarism means like Temple Grandin and like bigger cages and more efficient slaughter methods and shit. but in the philosophical literature, welfarism means like it's the subjective feelings of pleasure and pain that are the things that matter, things that maximize. So you can be a consequentialist and disagree with that, and say you can say, for example, that like health is valuable in and of itself, and like objective criteria, like how much a person thrives in the world is valuable, and it's not only at the level of the pleasures and pains that we should be trying to maximize well-being. But classical libertarianism was heavily focused on the pleasures and pains, the like moment to moment happiness and suffering of humans and non-humans. So basically, utilitarianism is a kind of a strong term that combines the consequentialism, the hedonism, which is caring about pleasures and pains, and then the universalism. And modern forms of consequentialism, like they modify those other two features. There's a lot of theories that try to accommodate how much you're like morally allowed to be biased toward yourself and your family and those close to you versus helping others far away from you. And then there's other forms of consequentialism, like I generally think I hold that disagree with hedonism and think that we should be thinking about the objective qualities of a life that go beyond how people necessarily feel. Then, of course, you're probably familiar with the antinatalists. There's this other offshoot called negative utilitarianism that generally says...
Yeah, I live with one.
Oh, really? Well, so sometimes people call themselves antinatalism, and it just means that they choose not to have children, not to reproduce, and that's really different from the philosophical idea that bringing new life into the world is always wrong because they're negative utilitarianists, which means they think suffering is like always ranked as more important than happiness. So that anytime you bring a new life into the world, even if it's going to be like on average, very, 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 very healthy, very, very happy life, if it has any amount of suffering, then it's going to be bad that that person came into existence, because the suffering always takes precedence. The suffering is always most important.
Well, from my understanding, wasn't that the suffering was necessarily most important, but just that the suffering was going to be so sure versus it will always, it's always an assured thing, right? Humans will always know that we are going to be, death is going to be coming to us at some point. Our loved ones are going to die. So from my understanding, it was just the fact that the suffering is so sure versus, I don't know about it being more important, but I get what you're saying.
I've heard that
still
version.
Saying it's more important. Yeah.
It takes a lot of forms, and actually, like the pioneer of this, David Benatar, in his books, he doesn't just make one argument. He makes like this series of arguments to say, if you don't accept this one to be an antinatalist, you should accept this one. If you don't accept that one, you might accept this one. And so there's all these different like ways that he thinks people might approach it. One of them is deontological, and it says it's consent based, and it basically says a child that hasn't been born yet is obviously incapable of consenting to the suffering that's going to occur in their life. So therefore, you're doing something non-consensual when you conceive that child. There's people who believe that. That seems really really wild to me. Pretty crazy. But then you have this argument that I described a minute ago, that like suffering will always take precedence over pleasure. So anytime you even if like there's somebody that you affect in the world who already exists, if you give them like 1,000 times as much pleasure as the amount of suffering that you give them. So they're happy about it. It's still bad. It's still worse that you gave them the like 1 unit of suffering than that you gave them 1,000 units of happiness. So there's people who believe that, and then there's people who believe that like the most reasonable form of antinatalism is just that statistically the average person is going to cause much more harm than good that they do, especially in a carnist society, right? Even if you try to raise your child vegan, there's at least going to be a pretty good chance, even if it's more likely, like above 50%, that they're going to stay vegan for life, there's always going to be some significant chance that they get swayed by the carnist society. And if that happens, they're going to end up causing much, much more suffering to pigs and chickens and stuff than their own life is worth. So that argument does seem pretty reasonable, insofar as our society has the evil ethics that it does, for not bringing more people into it. But then, the response to that has to be like, well, the chance that your child is gonna just become an average carnist has to be offset by the chance that they're going to become some kind of amazing activist. Because if we don't have more and more activists, we're not going to have any chance of ending this system. And where are the activists going to come from if they're not coming from families that have instilled these fundamental values, right?
Yeah,
so that's the trade-off there. And the antinatalist is going to focus on the likelihood that the child is going to cause more harm than good, but the non-negative.
How can the antinatalist prove that the negative or the negative outweighs the positive of life?
Well, I guess it seems pretty obvious that absent like any activism or say like inventing a really good product like Beyond sausages or something, it's gonna make a lot more people give up.
We just tried Beyond the like grilled meat for the first time. Impossible. Jesus Christ. It's scary.
How close it is. Yeah.
And
then people are still talking about how we need cultivated meat in order to bring people over. Like,
I don't think so.
Yeah,
this shit is fucking
cultivated meat.
The way it browns
food, because I mean, that's not even vegan food. That's that's novelty vegan food, really. Like, that's not what most of us eat. But it is very convincing. Some of the mac and cheese these days there's just no way you can tell the difference between vegan mac and cheese and regular mac and cheese these days. There's all kinds of stuff. But that's that's like the whole thing. They're all the carnists, they're like, oh, it's all wasn't it you who said that? It's like, that's not more processed than bread, like any of those products. They're like, ultra processed, and it's like, no, it's not. Like, it's not ultra processed. That's like normal processing. The bun on your hamburger is the same fucking shit. Like, and these people
such a stupid word,
Yeah,
processing it confuses
it's so arbitrary.
Yeah, it's like one meaning can be like stripping most of the nutrients out of a product, like when you make refined white flour out of whole wheat, right?
Yeah.
So there's that kind of processing, and I can see the problem with that. But then there's this other definition where just if you like put stuff in a blender and grind it up, it's processing. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like a smoothie that you make with like kale and broccoli and banana, like that's processed. Oh my god, you blended it.
And what's paying someone to slaughter an animal, chop it up, freeze it, cook it, that's all processing. So
Yeah, they take they take all the skin away and all the blood and all the cartilage and stuff. You're taking nutrients away from the original.
Nutrients away from it. Yeah, that's like the meme that irritates me the most is I mean, and it's not even, I don't know why it irritates me because I'm not
I think I know what you're gonna say.
Big on the whole fake meat stuff, but
I'm gonna guess what you're gonna say. Can I guess right
the
now?
ingredients list.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Beyond Meat, and then it's got 50 ingredients,
And then it's all
beef.
Ingredients,
It's
beef.
Beef is on the periodic table. It's like a single element.
Yeah.
It's a
And it
beef
took
element.
nothing for that beef to exist. It didn't take like thousands of gallons of water, freaking, like all the corn and soy and like all it just vanished. It just popped out of that's
B12 injections.
Yeah. So it's
into
like
the cow.
they can't do. That's why, like I was talking about the first
Antibiotics, like a bunch of different antibiotics.
The comment from earlier about the guy being all Salisbury steak was invented by a doctor. Like, it's like these dudes are coming up with the worst arguments to defend themselves. Like, there's no brain power behind any of these things. It's just someone says something on video. That's why the Ted Nugent video was so popular. It's just because he said something that sounded kind of clever in their favor. So they all like
love hearing things that make them feel positively about their bad habits and their bad decisions. And so it's like you hear someone, you're I'm going to use that. But it's
like,
all logical fallacies. It's illogical.
He's justifying my bad behavior. Thank God. Well,
it's pretty core to activism to understand the fact about human psychology that most of the time people aren't starting with principles and then thinking about how they're going to apply those principles. Most of the time people are starting with their habits and then figuring out the best sounding way to rationalize their current habits.
Correct.
So we gotta really, that's why things like veganuary are such a really important idea, because when you can get people for whatever reason to just not be consuming the animal products anymore, that makes the typical human mind just much more open to adopting the ideas. They already have this evidence that they can be the kind of person who lives in accordance with these ideas, so then they can accept the ideas afterwards. There's just endless examples of that, and that applies to like being an activist or being outspoken too. Is like people who've never done it before, they start off trying to think about how good it would be if they did and why they ought to be more outspoken. Then it's pretty hard to go from the abstract reasoning about why you should live your life in a more open and outspoken way. But if you start by like having role models and having personal connections to where you do get drawn into being outspoken, then you internally realize how natural it can be. And then you can realize the ideas that say that you should be. Same thing with everything. Same thing with exercise. People have trouble with getting motivated to do physical activity first before they start the physical activity, and that's so stupid. It's getting everything back assward, trying to like build up a huge amount of motivation that's going to make you start going to the gym or going out and running or cycling or whatever. The thing to do is
like the worst.
Gyms are pretty bad. I think that what's bad about the gym in particular is that there's this sharp threshold of out of the gym, in the gym.
Yeah.
There's not this transition into like
you're not becoming an athlete. Like you could be out of the gym not working out, but working out. Like,
Well, it's harder to adapt it as part of your lifestyle when it's I need to
Right.
go to this drive into this destination in order to do this thing to be fit.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. It stays in its box, right? And
It's
the way
easier to
become-
make excuses not to exercise.
you're like, oh, I'm not going to go to the gym today.
Yeah, I can't go there.
Then there's like no other option for anything else because it's the gym. It's a gym. You're supposed to work out the gym.
Car free. When you live car free and you live in like a walkable and bikeable area,
yeah,
and you just
we did all summer. It was dope. We rode our bikes only all summer long because we were just in a small Santa Cruz. It's like a small beach city. Just didn't need a car. It was rad.
I was thinking about like the camping I do. If you're in campsite, and
you don't camp,
and then so part of it is like backpacking into a place. Part of it is like hiking up a mountain, and these are the stretches that involve like more intense physical activity. But then the quote unquote downtime is also very physical, right? The downtime is also like continuing to move around, continuing to do stuff. There's like no point in the process where you're sitting in a sofa chair watching show after show, and that's just like that's just internalizing the physical activity so much more than people who set aside a particular times during the week to go to the gym and scan their card and do this like very scheduled exercise. What is that there? What do you guys got there that's giving her such a hard time?
Oh, it's a blunt.
Is it extra strong or something, or is it
My
just
virgin
like,
lungs can't handle? It's actually a non-tobacco wrapper, so in theory it should be less harsh, but it's like some CBD and like palm leaf, but it's kind of more hard. Oh yeah.
Oh, is it palm? That's hemp. Yeah.
Hemp leaf. I don't.
We buy like different brands of them, so you never know what you're getting.
I have weak lungs too because I've never been a cigarette smoker.
Yeah, we got pretty strong lungs. You'd be surprised when you smoke weed. If you smoke from a bong, just doing the like several times a day, your lungs get really fucking strong. Like I could stay underwater.
It's like an exercise.
Like when I have a bong, I could stay underwater for like fucking 3 minutes. It's crazy.
Stoner fitness, man.
Stoner fitness.
Dude, what's your sport? You're like asking a stoner, what's your sport? I could stay underwater for a really long time. It's like
I hit the bong and then I go underwater.
And I just don't move. And I just stay under there
Just
for
do
5
this.
minutes. Yeah.
Under the water.
Hey, it's a survival skill, right?
Yeah.
Could
I
use
used to
that.
scare
I guess
Damo
so,
doing
yeah.
it. My son would get freaked out because I go under so long. And then like
You
all
dick.
my family
Wow.
friends would be like, "Aren't you like a pothead? Like, how is it possible that?"
You're all, actually, did you know it makes your lungs a lot stronger? They're like,
How often, like in normal day, are you like, like taking big hits?
like expanding your
That's a
lungs.
good
Yeah,
point,
like
though.
that hard.
Have you ever done the panting thing where like you lay flat on your back and
Like
Oh,
hyperventilate.
like
yeah, hyperventilate?
oh,
It
like
makes you like
breathology or whatever.
breath work.
Breath work.
it's yeah, it has like a real psychoactive effect. You just like
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
yeah,
you get all
I've
super
done
stoned.
it.
deep fast breathing.
Yeah, I've done like a group one where it was like we all had our arms kind of linked, and it was like we do like I forget if it was inhale or exhale, but like we'd all squat at the same time and then like lift up, and you did it like a certain amount of times, and then like I don't know, it was one of the most psychedelic experiences I had, and it was just through breath, but it
Breathing.
was like a group breathing exercise, but it's really trippy how much you can manipulate your body and your mental state with that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's been a long time since I've ever done anything like that, but
You do drugs? No, man. I breathe. All natural.
I don't do drugs, man. I just drink about 6 IPAs an evening.
There's a lot of estrogen in those IPAs, bro.
So, guys, not entirely
7 o'clock.
Not entirely straight edge people. What's wrong with alcohol in your view? Do you have experience with violent alcoholics or something like that, or is it?
My family were all alcoholics, so I was pretty skittish about it growing up. I was at like 16, I think I had turned straight edge because I was just like, I'd seen everything like my family went through, and I was just like, getting to the age wherever all my friends were partying and stuff. So I got into the whole straight edge thing till I was like 22. So I wasn't dabbling during that time.
So it's about destructive personality changes?
Well, alcohol. So when I was in a band, I drank
like liver failure or something like that.
For several years of my life. I ate a Subway sandwich and drank a bottle of whiskey every day when I was a musician living in Hollywood. And
okay.
So eventually,
yeah. That was after the going straight edge when you were 15. So
you
went on the roller coaster a couple of times.
Anyone who's straight edge through their teens, once they sell out, they go like straight like to cocaine and like hard gnarly stuff. I luckily didn't do that, but I did party. I did drink. I did drink a lot, and it was funny. Me and my friend went into so we had a buddy of ours who was a musician and he was out on tour, and he was having problems with his throat. And Devin will like this story. It's about Skrillex. We were going, me and my buddy Evan went into the doctor. We like coughed a bunch of times and went into the doctor to get him a Z-Pack, a penicillin pack, like antibiotics, because he was on tour and he couldn't go to the doctor. And so we like coughed, we smoked a bunch of cigarettes and coughed a bunch of times. Like after we went partying one night, we went to the doctor and like we walked in, and the lady walked in and she's all, "You guys drink a lot, don't you?" And we're like, "Whoa, no, not really." And she was like, "How much you guys drink? How often do you drink?" And we're like, "Oh, 5 nights a week." And she's like, "Oh yeah, you guys are gonna die." And we were just like, "Holy shit!" But yeah, I stayed away from it. And then I got, obviously I was just being a crazy musician in Hollywood. So I was drinking a lot and just partying every night. You don't go out and you don't drink. You don't go to a club and not drink. And like, I was like hyper social back then. But alcohol, I never, okay. I'm a pretty cuddly alcohol guy. But when I was I had a pretty, people can get really, I know I'm pretty cuddly on alcohol, but I know I can get dark, and people tend to get dark on alcohol, which is never, it's not necessarily a good thing.
Especially
they allow us to have it.
To fight, right? Like
it's the one thing they allow us to have, which is a little weird to me. It seems like it's the status drug of choice because it numbs the pain of like being a tax slave, but then you're fine the next day, kind of,
kind of.
But and it doesn't, like, you're not getting anything positive out of it. So they're happy to give us things that we don't get positive things out of. Because I don't know anyone who like alcohol does anything like long-term positive for anyone.
Yeah.
I am a prime candidate for not drinking any alcohol, but I do here and there. Like it is like I can talk as much shit about it as much as anybody, but I still drink every once in a while. But it's like not even a weekly thing, like maybe once a month.
It's interesting when I encounter straight edge people, because there's like a few different types. There's occasionally the ones who never waver, but then there are more people who have kind of lived on this sort of roller coaster, and which it reminds me a lot of Catholicism, you know, like these like strong moral movements, they have like a symbiotic relationship with sinning, you know, that the
Well, it's like
sinning is what brings people back to the church, and they go back and forth, and each of them keeps the other strong. Like there's a reason why you'd have the church next to the brothel, because
yeah, well, the roller coaster comes from like it's like a rite of
drives you to the other.
It's like a rite of passage in our society. You know, you're 21, you're supposed to go have a drink, you know, like it's like, and then at that age, we're all retarded because we just got shit out of high school and they didn't teach us anything about being social in high school. They didn't teach us any social skills or anything. So like, then we're supposed to like go live life with this alcohol stuff around, and people don't even know how to feed themselves at that age. So it's like everyone's going to have some sort of drug or alcohol problem in their late teens to early 20s to mid 20s to late, you know, to 30s even, because people don't know how to control anything these days. We aren't taught how to do this stuff by our society. We're just taught to compete and to memorize. They don't teach us how to get along. They don't teach us how to regulate negative things that we have around us, that we have offered to us. You know, and then like having like my son's freaking 14, and I'm like,
oh yeah,
this is when they start doing that stuff, and it's like, what do I tell him? You know, like what, you know, it's all weird, but like it's like,
luckily, you know, my niece and nephew, luckily, this is the weird way that causality works in the world, but they have a dad who's basically kind of a deadbeat, you know, not paying child support and stuff, and it's not entirely the result of intoxicants, but they play a role, and like he doesn't handle them well, and so they seem to have this mentality of like really wanting to stay away because they have a bad example, which I say luckily, because if they just had the example of me, they'd have somebody who you know, has a very high alcohol tolerance but is like extremely functional, you know, like I've never driven drunk. I've never started drinking in the morning. I've never, you know, and it's
alcohol tolerance is a very not good thing. That's your body just sending it through you because it knows you're giving too much, and eventually it'll stop doing that though, and it'll all you know, roast out your kidneys or whatever, your liver. You know, my dad was a paramedic, and I used to ride along with him in the like Explorer program with the Boy Scouts. And then I ended up going to EMT school. But like, I watched a couple of people die from liver failure too, and it's not a good way to go.
Yeah, we
turn
have a
yellow and puke blood for 3 weeks, and then you die. Like, it's really fucking gross.
We have a young friend who's he's diagnosed in December, and actually like making surprising progress, but he was on some kind of psych meds. You know, a lot of these psych meds
super
have like
dangerous.
The strongest warning note of interaction with alcohol, and he kept drinking like vodka, like starting in the morning for work while being on these meds, and so.
Dude, do you know NSAIDs? You know what NSAIDs are?
Nope.
So NSAIDs are like Advil or anti-inflammatory.
Yeah.
So
I never take any.
I've never taken anything in my life until I have knee problems, and I was in crutches for like the first half of our relationship. And then my dad was like, "Oh, dude, you got to try naproxen sodium, which is Advil."
Or it's
Aleve specifically. And I would hurt my knee, and I'd be in crutches for 3 months. And I took 2 Aleve, and it went away like within an hour. And so I was like, "Holy crap, thank God." But then there was one time, so I was managing my family's restaurant in LA, and I was working, and a couple days before I took an NSAID for my knee, and I was working, and someone like made me take shots with them.
Oh geez.
And I immediately blacked out.
Wow.
And she'll tell you the story.
Oh, God.
I vanished.
Yeah, we were supposed to hang out that night, and it was like pretty early on when we started dating. So it was like, okay, whatever. Like, he just didn't hit me up. And then I get the next morning, I'm like out on a bike ride, and then I get a picture from some random number of just his phone like lying on the ground. And I know it's your phone because it's like I see the screen. I like turned it on, so I'm like, what is this like weird cryptic like? Because I think what we had just like we were in like
we're watching a bunch of YouTube videos about people like
that
getting
would make me
kidnapped.
think you were kidnapped. Yeah. Totally.
So she was like freaking out.
What the hell? So there's this
That's what I
long
would
lapse
think,
of
for
time,
sure.
and then finally they text me and they're like, "Oh, I saw that you called. You were like the last notification on this phone. I found this phone in my yard. I'm just letting you know because like my number came up on the notifications on his phone." And so, long story short, you
I had like blacked out, and
night.
like my cooks put me in a taxi. The taxi dropped me off like two houses away from where I was supposed to go. I think I laid on the ground for a while.
That's probably where you lost the phone on someone.
And then I heard my cousin. And I started yelling for him, and he came and got me.
Because you were like in the neighborhood, close to the house.
Yeah, and so I just got up and walked away and left my phone on the ground. And then the next day, I'm like, "Fuck, where's my phone?" And so I wasn't able to contact her. But it was because I took and I was like, "What the hell happened?" Like, that was crazy. And then I realized that a couple of days before I took that NSAID, and it was still in my system. And if you drink on NSAIDs, it makes you crunk. Like,
that's one way to put it.
I was like UFC fighting my freaking cooks. Like, not like joking UFC fighting them, but like, it was like they were hilarious. It was funny.
You don't remember any of that? They told you about it after the blackout?
Yeah, wow. No. It was funny. But yeah, luckily they didn't let me drive.
I've seen so much bad behavior. I think I mentioned on one of these streams before that I way back when, before I went to Korea, I started taking poker really seriously. I started playing lots of like mid-limit hold'em and other games. I read a lot of books. You know, I was a highly rated tournament Scrabble player. I'm kind of retired now, but
wait, hold on. What was the whole alcohol thing about?
Well,
why'd you bring that up?
Partly because you guys are using one intoxicant and I'm using another right now.
Oh.
I'm just finishing my first
well, weed's good for you, so
high alcohol IPA.
There's arguments he made. Smoking anything is not necessarily
about to crack open the second. But I'm changing it to poker because I couldn't do it anymore. And
what, just the cycle?
I couldn't I just morally couldn't witness people in the throes of gambling addiction get some kind of like welfare check or pension or whatever, and
we just watched some movie
until it was entirely gone.
Wait, what was the show we just watched? There was a guy narking on the casino he worked at for like ripping off all the like vets and shit.
But the thing
is
is
that New Mexico movie.
Look, if you're playing like I was
Curse.
as a fairly young man at the time, if you're playing as somebody who knows the strategy and is trying to have positive EV, you know, if you're trying to just like eke out a little bit of money, because it's never gonna, like, aside from the very few people, it's never gonna pay more than a straight job does, right?
Yeah.
But if you're trying to like eke out enough to live on by playing as smart as you can, then you absolutely must take advantage of fish at the table. When there are people who are playing every hand, playing wildly, not paying attention, drinking heavily while they play, you got to focus on taking all their money, you know, because you're not ever going to be able to play so amazingly against other competent players to have a high rate of return. Your money is coming from the people who are playing terribly and losing their entire check.
Yeah.
That's where the vast majority of your
You
money
just eventually
is
start feeling like you were scamming people.
So you cannot have any sort of conscience about things like that over the table. You've got to recognize that as a very good table and stay there as long as you physically can. And so just being a halfway decent person inherently conflicts with the goal of being a smart gambler. And so it was the gambling addiction, but then also the alcoholism side of it too, right? Where people are acting really friendly and like getting the people who are drinking heavily at the table to drink more.
Yeah,
So-
like it
so
helps.
Their decision
helps
gets
a
worse
lot of
and worse and worse.
Yeah, it helps manipulate people.
The way people are manipulating each other's emotions in order to get them to play worse.
And it's just a terrible
Taking
financial
friendship.
decision. It's just it's like, you know, you could buy a bottle of booze for $12, but you go into a restaurant and it's $12 for a tiny one. It's just, you know, it's like bad economically too.
Oh right,
Because
it
people
doesn't
spend a
provide
shitload
any-
of money on booze. I can't like we'll be out somewhere, you know, like at a concert or something. And it's like, all right, well, we gotta get a couple drinks, and it's like fucking $40, and we're just like, Jesus Christ, like, and like and it's like you don't even get a buzz, like you don't like it's just you're just paying a bunch of money to have a drink in your hand for a little bit. It's really dumb, and there's so much money in it. Like there's so many bars and restaurants and stuff that just like make so much money off of alcohol. And then like, you know, like the just dating when you're single, like no one can hang out without drinking. Like it's like it's so weird. And like I get it, because like you get nervous and it's easy to break the ice and all that shit, but like why? You know,
it's hard when
why
you're
is
like,
it like that? It shouldn't be like that. We shouldn't need to drink to be able to hang out and be like social with people, but we're a product of our environment. And like I said, they don't teach us social skills in high school.
my current life as like this, you know, high functioning sort of high alcohol tolerance person with a never been on my life has never been like this roller coaster of, you know.
Well, drinking a bunch of beers, you're not gonna like get drunk, like
yeah,
you know.
I mostly drink beer, and then in Korea I drink makgeolli, which
Whiskey.
is it's rice wine. It's this
Oh,
cloudy stuff.
Yeah.
Not like
That's
sake.
just good. Yeah.
It's kind of it's good. So, some cheap brands add fucking dairy milk to it.
Blech.
Late in the filtering, it's completely disgusting. I can always taste the difference if I accidentally have a sip, but yeah, traditionally the good stuff is always vegan, made in the traditional way. But
you don't drink anything hard?
Like once every couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I have a bottle of gin in the freezer. Sometimes I make a gin tonic, but I don't keep drinking.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna have like a three gin tonics in a row or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mostly drink beer and white wine.
Yeah.
But
it doesn't sound that bad.
But I've never lived my life with, with anything that is like the roller coaster that I hear and see from other friends and acquaintances, where I completely mess everything up, and then I have to go through this like really strict rehab sort of time where I'm like apologizing for like my life has been a fairly.
Well, are you just bored? Are you drinking because you're bored?
Well, maybe kind of. The main like significant problem that comes when I go completely sober is insomnia. I'm already kind of like a night owl, and yeah, just laying up like thinking about mortality and thinking about.
Do you drink coffee though?
Thinking about the animal holocaust and shit like that all night long.
Do you drink caffeine?
I'm highly sensitive to caffeine and generally don't drink more than 1 cup on work days, just to kind of get me started. And sometimes I don't even finish that first cup. So
yeah,
it's like the opposite. It's like the opposite relationship of how much alcohol I drink to make sure I wind down and get to bed.
Yeah,
I drink almost no caffeine.
Yeah, riding bicycles makes you sleep. Your sleep pattern really good.
You know what? That's true. That's when I either don't drink or hardly drink.
Yeah,
is when I'm backpacking.
You're riding a lot.
Or when I'm playing some kind of sport like all day long, like an ultimate tournament, ultimate frisbee.
It's the best sleep when you're like we go on these rides that are kind of stupid long, and then like climbing through the mountains and shit, and I'll come home and it's just like I'll just lay on the couch and I'm like, oh my god,
well, like when
it feels so good though, but then the sleep you have that night is unreal.
Exactly. I wish if I had a life where I just had that constant physical activity throughout the day, those parts of my life, that is the solution. But when I'm teaching and I'm sitting on my computer during that prep, and then I'm in the classroom and it's getting like my brain super active and wired, and get that sort of second wind when I come home, then yeah, if I don't have several beers, then I'm going to have crippling insomnia and feel tired the next day because I was up 5 times during the night. So that's basically the downside at this point. And people will say, well, why don't you just get a prescription for sleep medicine? And it's like the horror of that, like that would be the trade-off to my not drinking beer anymore, is that
the sleep meds are some of the worst pharmaceuticals out there.
Yeah, I'm terrified. I never touched them in my life, and I'm terrified of trying to go down that path. And the flippant way that people will say, like, oh, alcohol is bad, so get a prescription for sleep meds. It's like prescriptions are not magical. Prescriptions are not magical things that take away the harm that these things can cause,
Yeah, I mean, like living, at least like how we eat and how active we are, like if I drink any alcohol at all, I'm up at like 5 a.m. like wide awake 5 a.m. Because I'm dehydrated. And my body's very sensitive to dehydration these days.
That makes sense.
Because of like the cycling and shit like that, pushing yourself to where you have to hydrate, and you're like pushing your body to the limit, like riding tons of miles. And so it's like now I drink it all and I'm up at 5 a.m. like wide awake in the morning after like some kind of shitty sleep, and it's just like not worth it. It's like I value my my stability of my health more than whatever. But yeah, sleep not I would just say exercise more, man, because like
I wanted to ask you, that's I definitely sympathize with that, because I am pretty active. I mean,
yeah,
a lot of my hobbies are about.
Well, you should be getting tired from your activities.
And I do, yeah, and I understand that phenomenon too of like you crack open the one beer after a long day of hiking and then barely get through half of it, and your body is just like time to crash.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
and that's
the
a
appeal
really
is
good
real.
feeling.
The appeal is real, that's for sure. A beer after a long day at work, like woo.
I'd like to ask libertarians about this too, and for a number of reasons. Part of the reason is a lot of the vegan community, especially the old vegan, longtime vegans in East Asia, it's connected with Buddhism, and so it's very connected with like general nonviolence and pacifism, and they often think that that alcohol is the enemy of pacifism, that is just inherently makes people aggressive and violent and
impulsive.
I have to admit that I've seen that in many other people, and then in terms of libertarianism, I always wonder what libertarians think about like the morality of consuming something that might change your personality, and even though you don't want to inflict violence upon anybody right now, doing this thing might change you so that in a couple hours you do.
Yeah, I mean, in a libertarian community, in anarchy land, you'd have to have insurance if you're going to be drinking alcohol, and the insurance company is going to have to you're going to know that you can't do certain things when you're under the influence of alcohol, and if you do, you already know ahead of time that your insurance company is going to pay out any damages, and you might have to leave. You may lose your driving privileges in the community that you live in, or you might have to leave that community and go live in a lesser community because you aren't trusted, because because they're in any anarchist in any community, they're going to be if you want to live there, you have to agree to the terms of the community. So you're going to already agree when you move in not to drunk drive. So if you do that, your insurance company is going to pay out whoever you fucking killed, or the family.
I'm not so much thinking about drunk driving here, because that seems like a much more clear-cut case, or like like carrying a weapon when you're severely intoxicated. But I'm thinking more like say the insurance company says, look, statistically, people are much more likely to get into a fist fight when they drink, or whatever, smash a beer stein into somebody's face or whatever, and then you say, look, I want the personal freedom to do this. I'm not going to punch anybody in the face. I never have, and they say, well, you're not going to be permitted to consume this intoxicant at all unless you are able to pay the insurance rate and carry insurance, even like in your own home or something like that, because you might go and punch your neighbor. So you're not going to have the license in our community to be able to decide what goes into your own body ahead of time because of what other people statistically do. That's kind of what I want your opinion on, because a lot of libertarians would just immediately balk at that and say that's horrific to deny people the right to put whatever they want in their own body when they haven't done anything wrong yet as individuals.
Well, there's kind of a couple ways of answering the question. If we're talking about a hypothetical anarchy land, alcohol might not be because alcohol is just like carnism. It's a tradition to drink alcohol. It's not something we need. It's just something we do because it's offered to us because it's a tradition. And so anarchy town USA might not even allow alcohol with it, or the environment to which people are promoted to drink alcohol, or the environment we live in that causes us to drink, won't be like that. So there would be less. It's kind of like Japan when the earthquake happened or the tsunami happened, and they took the picture of the liquor store, and it was like, or the supermarket, and there was no food except for all the booze was there, and it's like, because they look at alcohol differently than we do. It's just a tradition here. Alcohol to them, it's kind of like a weird bougie kind of like celebratory thing. Like it's just different than
use it for like signaling social
here.
status with gifts or like within their company or whatever by the
So I think if we are up to the point where we're talking about having this anarchy land, I don't think these, that's why I was always talking to Carson about. I'm like, dude, in a different world, we're not going to need these laws that you're all making, because the environment that statism has made for us won't be there. We won't be desperately living because the government's taking half of the money we make. Like that won't be the case. So we want, crime will go down on its own. You won't have to have all these laws and be throwing people in jail and all this shit in anarchy, like in the future, in the land that we want, so
people will negotiate
like who's even, like if we're up to living in those kinds of communities, we'll probably have figured out that we don't need alcohol that much, or it'll be kind of like a boutique, it'll just be looked at differently in our society, I think.
But man, that there's a lot of self-described libertarians who
I only know
hearing this,
real.
well, not I'm not saying there's a lot in the world, but among the self-described libertarians, many of them will hear this sort of ANCAP conversation that we're having, just about how things will work themselves out through negotiation, and the rules will be set by what insurance providers are willing to cover people for, and what societies people choose to follow the rules of, and and they're gonna just flat out say that you and I don't sound like libertarians because there's some kind of natural law or divine law sort of libertarians who, deontologists who think that that just it's always wrong to for some external
have any rules
to restrict, well, not any rules, but the only rules that they would ever allow are ones that they see as directly protecting the non-initiation of force principle, like laws about punishing people who have initiated force. But they would never regard it as libertarian to put any restrictions on what a different person chooses to put into their own body. That would be like one of their bedrock kind of examples of a violation of force, to have a rule against people's personal choices about intoxicants, up to the point where that person, physically attacks somebody else.
Well, I mean, like, you're basically saying they're just gonna be like, oh, well, that just looks like government again, and then
even if it's like meth, even if some guy's using meth.
No, if you want to do meth,
everybody
you can
knows
move
meth
to
makes
a
people very
community
violent.
that allows meth.
Well, that's
it's probably not going to be a very nice place, but if you really want to do meth, you're gonna go have to live in a trap house. Like, you're not going to live in where everyone's.
A lot of people are going to say that
harmony,
A lot of people are going to say that you're not libertarian, and me for agreeing with you that.
No, but that's way because these guys think that the anarchy looks like the Wild West, where we're all just living in huts out in the fucking desert, and that's not what it's going to be. It's going to be a futuristic fucking city that is working with a populace that is not being taken advantage of by a government, and it's just going to be a different place. And the whole dude, 9 out of 10 libertarians talk to me about this stuff, and they're just like, oh, it's going to be the Wild West. And it's like, no, it's not. Like, it's 2024, people. Like,
there's like this
paleo-conservative
like influence too, right? There's
entrepreneurs aren't going to go away. They're going to take advantage of the lapse in government. And that's, we were just watching Nick and Tim Dillon, Nick, what's his name? Nick from MDB and your buddy Sam Hyde, and they were talking about the Hamptons, right? Up in upper New York, whatever.
Yeah.
They've completely they don't have government, but
no like property
they're no property tax. So they hire everyone hires a company to come get their trash. You know, like it's like super free market going on there. Oddly enough, like everything is still working, but there's no government doing it, and there's no one taking taxes and doling. You know, like it was kind of interesting that you pointed that out because I didn't know about that.
Interesting
That we have an actual example of free market capitalism in upstate New York, which is kind of weird, but they're like paying for all their things fine because they don't want the crazy property tax. I guess if you can own like a fucking $20 million home there and it's only like 10-20 grand a year property tax.
A lot of these Wild West talking, natural law or it's often divine law.
They're called beltwaytarians. They're like, I'm libertarian unless Trump's around.
Well, I'm not talking. No, those people are kind of a different bag. But I'm kind of talking about like the paleo conservative influence on the modern libertarian party.
Yeah,
I know a lot of these people. They're almost always men, and
you're talking about Big L, the L Libertarian Party. Big
That's right.
L,
and
not like
when you dig deep, they don't really like very like complex social structures involving lots and lots of strangers having lots of interactions like you would have in a modern city. What they really want emotionally is to feel this kind of traditional fiefdom over their nuclear family. They want to be like the lord of their wife and kids in their home that's kind of got some decent
nuclear family is a tax slave system,
something like that. But that's why they want to have their guns. They want to have their homestead, and they basically want to be able to. They don't want any sort of teacher influencing their kids away from their own individual values as the king of the castle. And you just end up, surely you've met lots of people like this, right?
At least they care a little bit.
The reason that there's a huge difference between people who don't want large government being intrusive because we think it's causing a lot of unnecessary harm, and having competition for those services on the market would serve people much better. And then other people who don't want government to be involved because it interferes with their absolute authority over whatever little nuclear or extended family they see themselves as being the male head of household over. It's like government.
Their own flavor of authoritarianism. It's not
right.
Ending that entire paradigm completely, which is
exactly
more our vein. But completely. It's like it's the same. Yeah, it's that same force of government. But like you're saying, just themselves exerting that force and having the power and control. Yeah.
The thing you see them freaking out the most about is teachers, having somewhat different values to the values that they want to instill, or any kind of societal value changing around them, like changing views on gay and trans people. They just
well, that's the whole big. It's like you see, it's the typical Fox News narrative. There's drag queens in every public school every single Friday, and they're hanging out with the kids. That's really
they're making kids.
That's what they
with each other.
Yeah, basically, and they're giving them butt plugs. Like that's like what these old people who watch Fox News think, and that's kind of like the
schools are putting litter boxes in the bathrooms because
fake news that wasn't even a real
identifying as cats.
Yes. Yeah,
I moderated a debate about that. It was super funny. It was this girl that just was like in hysterics about the trans in the schools, and it was like it's hard,
Yeah,
it's like she said, the Fox News like thing to talk about for the month. It's like one one of my arguments I could pull out and wow all the boys with. You know, it's like all these. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lack of nuance, right? And it's like, okay, you get mad at the government, so everything that the government has ever touched is bad, and not looking at, okay, no, it's just, it's, you know, it doesn't mean that, like you were saying, there's no value in teachers in some sort of group setting, kids learning. And it doesn't necessarily mean that if you don't homeschool your kid, you are evil and they're brainwashed and they're ruined. Like, it's kind of, it's this, like, these extremes, right? And that's kind of like,
what do you guys think about vegan quote unquote brainwashing of quote unquote other people's kids as if their kids are their property? How much footage do you think that you feel comfortable, like, with vegans showing underage kids on the street in activism or whatever, or how much information telling them, when you're going to have occasionally these parents who who see, like, you as the aggressor for encroaching upon their authority over the children that they really sort of view as their property?
I don't believe in public school, so
I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about as
I
a
just
public
scream
school
abolish
teacher.
public school. Like,
I'm talking about street activism. A
Yeah.
kid comes by and they're like 13 and they're like, "What happens to why don't you eat chickens or whatever?"
Well, I mean, I used to do pita tables in high
Like eating
schools when I
chickens
was a
is good.
kid.
that's cool.
Right now, as an adult, if you're out doing some street activism, if you're at some, like, a vegan event and
I think it
there's
goes
just
back
some
to,
kid
like,
there,
it causing the least amount of harm possible, right? So, okay, I don't think it would be, despite how vegan it is, I don't think it would be moral to show a kid who's necessarily too young to see gnarly factory farming footage. You know, like I would revert back
talk to them about
the
it.
But
psychology.
you're talking about traumatizing the kid. Yeah, sure. I
Right.
completely
Like, I think-
agree with that. If you
Right.
think the footage might be traumatic, but in terms of parental rights versus what the rest of society should be, like, doing in terms of exposing kids to a better worldview or having an honest conversation with them versus what an authoritarian parent might kind of demand as their right to influence their child as they see fit. That's what I'm more curious about. If the kid is asking you questions, should you be, like, telling him the honest answer? Or should you be saying,
right? I mean,
ask your parents whether it's okay for me to tell you about what chicken farming is?
to me, it just seems like, again, maybe it's my vegan bias, and I'm like, I don't understand what the issue is if it's just the truth. Like, it's like, of like how, of how things are. Like, it'd be one thing, okay, like,
You're lying about something. Yeah.
or pushing, like, some like, like, oh, if you stop eating animals, you could decide whatever color eyes you want, like something like that. Like, that would be, but yeah, like, teaching kid, like, that's sort of like what, like, Jeffrey was saying, where it's like, that's that condition of society where parents are mad that their children are being taught about factory farming. That's like those that we're dealing with an environment that's kind of completely skewed as far as, like, government institutions, and where if we had an organically formed society where, there are these schools or whatever teaching things that are the truth, okay, like, but again,
The
that goes,
truth is just paramount, and like,
and it goes back to, okay, the parents could pull their kid out and homeschool them if they really wanted to, right? And like, it's run the
they'd
risk
be able to take them to a school where meeting's okay. There'd be competing schools in
Sure.
anarchy land. Like, there wouldn't be any, like, the only option is homeschooling. There would be plenty of other options. And that's what's amazing about anarchy land, is that it's anything, like, you have different flavors of communities that have different things in them, and you have the choice to go between each one, where in our society now we have no choice. We have to just do what they say, and there's no option of going to a different place.
You'll undoubtedly have organizations like the SAT, but better versions, the best versions of standardized tests, which will the proof of the pudding or whatever, which will prove the the different effectiveness of these competing.
Oh, the competing schools?
Education.
Oh,
Yeah.
competing schools is unbelievably good idea. Like,
Yeah, and then it won't take long. It won't take long to weed out the ones that are
it's such a
producing like
no-brainer.
very low like math and literacy skills when
Yeah.
when you have these well administered standardized tests, and you can
Why would you want to take your kids to a school where they have shitty teachers?
Or they're
Thus
teaching
that
them
school goes out of business, which is the free market.
Yeah, or they're teaching them a diet that isn't providing as great of health results
yeah,
in children. Like that
Yeah.
would be another objective test where like it's the medical like
we're living in a world right now where all this stuff is being twisted by influencers that don't know what they're talking about. So, it's a little bit tougher, but in obviously in that land, we would actually look at the data and use the data, and it would be obvious. I don't know, me growing up, everyone knew McDonald's was bad for you, like everyone knew eating a bunch of meat was bad for you, but now they've changed it. A couple guys on Joe Rogan changed the whole thing. Yeah, effective marketing. Exactly. Like they're using the data, but they're not using it in a good way. It's pretty nuts.
It's really important to make sure people know that there already are lots and lots of precursors to anarcho-capitalism in our societies now, where there are services that are competing and that are providing really good results. For the most important examples of education, studying for the bar exam or the professional standardized tests like the LSAT and MCAT and stuff, there is massive competition for effective tutors, tutoring companies, individual tutors, online materials. There's for-profit education that is highly competitive, and you in order to keep a job in those industries, you have to be able to prove that you can deliver results to your clients. There are insurance industries. Yeah, the government fucks around with them, but car insurance is the main force that's making people drive safer. It's not the tickets. It's not the chance to go into jail.
Car
The
insurance.
main thing that's making people not be at fault in accidents is their insurance rate going up. And it's a highly competitive scenario.
Right.
And that's the kind of thing that would ensure better behavior in an ANCAP society. It would work like the way that car insurance companies are working.
Now the conspiratorial mind would say, are you trying to advocate for a social credit score, man? What are you trying to say right now?
Well, I predominantly live and work in a country that doesn't use anything like the U.S. credit score. You basically negotiate your rates with a particular bank, and it's usually going to be a bank that you've kept a balance with over many years. And so if I were to try to take out a car loan in Korea, it would be with one of my two banks that has my long history, and I'd probably give them evidence of my current salary or something like that, and then there'd be a negotiation. It's not going to be an automatic calculation based upon this somewhat obscure credit score. So not everybody is doing that stupid thing, Americans often think that the U.S. is social credit score. I know, but when you're talking about a social credit score, it's based on the analogy of how bad the actual credit score system is, right? Social credit score would be bad because presumably it would be just as obscure and overly like determinative as the actual credit score system for loans that the U.S. has today, right? where somehow never carrying a credit card balance is a bad thing if you want to increase your credit score. That's so fucking stupid. you need to get into short-term debt and keep paying it off to prove that you can participate in that system.
Yeah,
just prove you're a sucker.
You need to. You can't get a home loan because you've never proven that you can have a car loan because you've been living car free. When living car free just means you got more money in the bank to be able to afford your home.
Have you watched what's it called? Black Mirror?
Oh yeah, not every episode, but
did you see the one with the killing the roaches one?
Nope.
Oh,
older one.
It's really cool. It's basically these it's this like army guys fighting these like kind of crazy scary monster aliens, right?
Oh, that's kind of like Starship Troopers, eh?
It is very Starship Troopers looking, right?
Okay.
Except not the big monsters. They're just like crazy humans, basically. And so in one of the scenes, the guy's fighting with these monsters, and the monster pulls out this flashlight thing and flashes it in his eyes because all these army guys have this chip in their head, an implant. And so and then the guy shoots these monsters, and then after that, his like chip is malfunctioning, and then he meets this lady, and he's like trying to, he starts like saving these humans, right? And they're like, what the hell, why are you trying to save us? And he's like, well, you guys there's roaches around, I got to save you from the roaches. And they're like, no, we're roaches. And he was all baffled, and they realized that their device worked on him and he can actually see them. And they were like, dude, the chip is showing you in your eyes that we're monsters, but we're just human. Like, it was like a really cool concept about like going along with all the
that's what a military would do in order to make people more effective soldiers at killing the enemy army.
Exactly. Yeah, it was really cool.
Okay. Yeah,
and it's like full Neuralink thing, you know.
Yeah, basically.
You guys know about
like
the stats
Neuralink run a.
You guys know
What's that?
Do you guys know about the studies on what percentage of infantry troops actually ever fire on the enemy?
Oh yeah, they shoot over everyone's heads. It's like 80-90%.
Yeah, almost all of that killing is getting done by a minority of the
one or two of the actual psychos in the group.
Yeah, that's right.
Sure.
That's right.
Yeah. And those are the guys that are special forces that go on all the crazy things and kill kids and shit like that. They just don't care. They're like, I'll do anything for the paycheck. You know, like they just don't give a shit. But yeah, no, that's what, dude, Vietnam ended because the military, our boys stopped fighting. It wasn't because the military stopped them from fighting. Like, it wasn't because whatever happened. It was everyone just stopped fighting. They didn't want to do it anymore. Everyone unanimously agreed to stop fighting because it was fucking stupid.
But then, you know, when you change more and more of it to away from infantry and boots on the ground, and you change it to sitting in an office in
playing a video game, dropping nukes on people,
manning a drone.
And
then all of a sudden 95% of people will happily do it.
Dude, you know, out in Palmdale there's a General Atomics facility where they assemble, test, and fly missions, all the Reaper drones. I had a piece of land out there, and I just kept seeing them over my fucking land. I was like, holy crap. And like, I was like, oh, I bought land right next to a drone facility, but they literally fly missions from this place. And there's like one road going up to it, and all these fucking pieces of shit driving up this road to this place to just go log in and drop bombs on fucking civilians in the Middle East. It's fucking crazy. And it's just like in LA, and like, it's just like happening right there. Like it drove me nuts. It was fucking crazy.
Yeah, better not take any pictures on your phone, videos, and upload.
No, it's cool. Me and Allie went out there. I told her, we're gonna drive up to this place. I'm all, when we get up to it, someone's gonna pull out in a truck and chase us, and that's literally what happened.
Oh, wait a second. So remember that story about him blacking out? So that happened after that date where we went fucking with drones on a base, and then that happened, and then I get this picture. So now
Yeah,
understand why
you
I'm
got
like,
you
oh
got some
my
riz,
God.
dude. That's a hell of a date.
No,
Yeah.
because I had land
You got the
after I
riz,
started
that's what I
seeing
meant to
them.
say.
I started trolling the drones, right? I bought all these giant boards and I wrote one that said, "Don't drone me, bro," and hung it on the side of my RV. And on the other side, I wrote one that said, "Drones make America less safe." All huge, right? And because they'd fly right over my place. And so I was trolling them. And then one day I went out there and my whole place had been ransacked.
Oh wow, they did it while
Yeah.
you were gone. So
Yep.
they're doing it to send a message. They're not actually.
Yeah,
trying
they
to
wanted me to leave.
arrest you for something.
Yeah, I even know who did it. They're called the Antelope Valley Nuisance Abatement Team. And they're a military, they're like a private security for the military industrial complex that's in Palmdale. Like there's like the Skunk 2 base, there's like they've designed everything out of Palmdale. And so the entire industry has a private security company that any of these sectors in this community can just call this security company, and the security company will just show up and do whatever needs to be done to continue what the industrial what they're doing out there, basically. And like people living out in the desert are seeing these drones, and like there is a Vice did a fucking story about this nuisance abatement team clearing people off of their properties out there because they just, dude, I watched them do a storm out there. I watched a bunch of drones take off from a bunch of these Reaper drones. Oh, by the way, when I'd watch the Reaper drones, sometimes they'd disappear and they'd pop back up and they'd disappear and they'd pop like I'd blink and they'd be gone. Like they're doing some sort of cloaking on the Reaper drones. But I watched 7 of them take off one day and they started flying around in circles and a fucking storm happened. And it was a storm that had the gnarliest lightning I've ever seen, but there was no sound. And then they all dispersed and the fucking storm dispersed. And so they obviously don't want people seeing that shit. And it was on the 4th of July, right? So obviously, like people are going to call in, I just saw drones. They're like, well, it's 4th of July, lady. There's fireworks all over the place. It's like the perfect day to test some sketchy shit out is on 4th of July. So they obviously don't want people. They've been kicking people off their properties out in the Antelope Valley because there's so much of these secret drone bases and shit out there. They don't want people doing that stuff. And so I became a product of what, like that. Like I went out there and I knew the whole story of what was going on out there, and I kicked the freaking beehive. And I paid for it with a lot of, like they stole all my shit and fucked it all up, and it was white vans. Like it was pretty crazy. But seeing those things in real life is horrifying, man. First time I saw one, I mean, so I'm like, known libertarian, like, like involved with some stuff, pretty crazy activism, and I'm out on my piece of land and I see a Reaper drone fly like 100 feet above me. I thought I was getting nuked for sure. Like I thought I was getting smart bombed the first time I saw one of those things. I was like, oh shit, they found me. They're looking at my phone. They found me with my GPS. I'm out in the middle of nowhere. They can just blow me up. No one will know what happened. It was fucking crazy. But anyway, we're an hour over, dude.
Right.
We're gonna get out of here. It was good talking to you again.
Yeah, my fucking fire's going out.
Thanks for hanging in there, being the only one.
No,
we're
know.
making some vegan cookies.
What is this? Oh, cookie mix. Okay.
Yeah.
First time trying. I don't know
Fudge
how they are,
brownies,
but they're vegan.
brownie cookies. They sell them at Ralph's,
So
dude.
vegan.
There's 4 different plant-based cookies at Ralph's right now, and the ingredients actually aren't even that bad.
That's the revolution, man.
Yeah,
The revolution.
and they
will
taste
arrive via baked
so different than dairy cookies
Well,
in
yeah,
any
they're
way
good.
whatsoever.
No shit,
It's been a
man.
while, but they're good.
They're really good.
So you got to do taste tests with people. You got to, I don't know.
Taste test,
You got to
I don't
just,
think.
you got to
Blind
get people to tell you that they're delicious, and then
We needed to start a YouTube channel where we go and do
Tell
that
them
at
they're
like
vegan.
colleges or something.
I started
But-
trolling my sister, telling her like, "You sure you want to drink this sparkling water? It's vegan sparkling water."
No, that was that. I
It's
found
weird.
this meme the
You
other
might,
day.
You
and
might catch the vegan virus if you eat that vegan banana. Yeah.
It's a picture. It's a picture of a dude throwing up, and it's all when you find out the hot dog the vegan gave you doesn't have anus in it.
Oh, yeah. I love that. There was a big in London. I think there was like a big poster on the underground that said for like one of the new vegan sausages that said like 100% less. I think it says something
Torture
like
or something like it was like
less cruelty, and then 100% less arsehole.
arseholes. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
All right,
All
man.
right.
We'll see you next
Guys, have
week.
fun.
Booze.
We gotta contact people in advance and make sure that it isn't this dead.
It seems like everybody wants to. We do like three of them, and then like people take one off, and then like after they take one off, they're excited to do the next one. Yeah, it's gonna ebbs and goes.
Well, it's gonna get it's gonna get somewhat hard when I'm in
probably.
Korea, but it's not gonna be impossible because it is gonna be. It's gonna be Saturday morning.
He's
like,
gonna get up early in the morning.
9 or 10 on Saturday.
That's not that bad.
Yeah, it's not terrible.
If you can get to sleep.
You hear me on coffee rather than beer.
Oh, whoa. It'll be a whole different maybe. Like a different personality completely.
We're like, who is this guy?
It up just for entertainment sake.
You're like a comedian after they get off drugs. Where you're just like, you're not funny anymore. All right, man. Peace.
Peace
See you.
out. Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.